The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.
Hey everyone, I'm Bradley Smith.
Hi guys, I'm Danny Buchan.
Hi, I'm Tom Sykes.
This is Motorsport Radio.
Hello and welcome. This is another Superbike Show. My name is Lester, and on tonight's show we have Liam Hodgins joining us because Ed is unwell. So hello, good evening, Liam.
Good evening, Lester. How are we doing today?
Nice and relaxed. Yeah, we were both at Clandau for the Cool Fab Racing British Minibikes Championship first round in South Wales at the weekend, and I trust that you've suitably recovered, have you?
Yeah, I have. It took a few days to recover, but I am back, ready. I think I'm still a little bit sleep deprived, so that's the only thing.
Yeah, it was a fantastic first round weekend, and we will talk a bit about it later in the show. So anyway, this is the Superbike Show. Hello and welcome. My name's Lester, and on the show we'll be talking mostly about stuff that happened on the world stage, MotoGP and Moto2 and Moto3 and World Superbikes. They're back in action. Plus we'll get the latest on the BSB Championship and also CEV, which is kicking off this weekend, I believe. We'll get the latest from Liam. I'm making that a feature, maybe, with a jingle, potentially. The latest from Liam. So we are live on this Thursday evening. If we're not live and you've downloaded us via Spreaker or Spotify or Stitcher or Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts from, basically, then you can still leave a comment, as long as it's nice, please. And yeah, it's if you are listening live, by the way, online on either Twitter, Facebook, on the website motorsport.radio. Where else do we stream, Liam?
We stream on YouTube, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and Twitch. Don't forget Twitch.
And Twitch. We always forget about Twitch.
I do.
It's always the one.
Yeah, that's because I don't.
I once streamed on Twitch when I was playing MotoGP 15 on PS4. So yeah, that's my own experience of Twitch.
Yeah, because I'm not a YouTuber, so I don't stream on Twitch often, apart from when we're doing this. Anyway, so that's where we're streaming, and we've got loads of different places. So there's no excuse, basically, and this is the perfect show to take with you on your way to work, maybe, or on the way to the circuit at the weekend, and give yourself something to, get infuriated about, because we like a few disagreements here on the show, and if you disagree with anything that Liam has said on tonight's show, or God forbid, anything that I've mentioned, then you can correct us. Please do. It's at M Sport Radio is the Twitter, Motorsport Radio on Facebook, or you can leave your comments in the comments box below. Right. So yeah. Hello and welcome. It's MotoGP time, and wow, where shall we start? Shall we start with Marquez and his biggest ever win in dry conditions, or shall we start with Rossi, who has seemingly at the grand old age of 63 still got it?
63 is not too far off, Lester, but I think we should probably start with the man himself, Marc Marquez, who decided to, well, pretty much give us the most boring race for a win in MotoGP for some time. Now, I wouldn't say the race was boring, it was far from it.
You just did.
Well, yeah, basically, but don't say that.
I know what you mean. It was a processional race from his point of view, that there wasn't much sort of wheel-to-wheel action, which is...
Yeah, not for the first position, which is a bit scary because he said that he was taking it easy, which is, I mean, if he was taking it easy, I don't want to know what he was like when he was actually trying, because he might have actually won by about 20 seconds. But biggest win in dry conditions. And the weird thing about Marc Marquez and the Argentinian circuit at the Rio de Termas de Rio Hondo, sorry, I got that right eventually, is that Marc Marquez either wins there or he scores no points. So he's done 6 races there, he's won 3 of them and scored no points in 3 of them as well. So
do you think it was great, perhaps a bit of redemption from last year, and because he turned out to be a bit of a villain after kind of messing it all up for everyone, didn't he?
Oh, yeah. So I think he just wanted to clear off and stay out of trouble, because I mean, last year was still quite recent in the memory of everyone else, including probably Valentino Rossi. So he just cleared off. But the thing is, he had that same pace last year So he didn't go on to dominate races like that throughout the rest of the season. So I think it's just Marc Marquez's affiliation with the circuit is just better than what anyone else has, because he scored 5 out of the 6 pole positions there. The only one that he didn't get was last year when it was in mixed conditions, when Jack Miller put on a set of slicks and nearly high-sided himself a million times on his pole lap. So Marc Marquez, champion of that circuit. Moving on to Valentino Rossi.
Well, just before you do, actually, we've already had a few comments flood in. Hello, guys, by the way. And Chris Howells with his comment. Hello, good evening, Chris. He says, the biggest win because Cal got a mental ride through. Now, that might be a good point, actually, something that we will get onto a bit later. But, Cal won this race last year, and maybe he could have put up a bit of...
Well, yeah, absolutely, because... when Cal Crutchlow came out of the pits, he was the only rider, apart from Marc Marquez, that was in the 39s. Everyone else was about a second slower. So Cal most likely could have maybe not beaten Marquez, but at least chased him down a lot harder than the rest of them did. So it was a shame that he did get it right through, but we will come on to that a little bit later on and possibly give you some factors to why he got the right through. So it was a shame to lose Cal from the race, because ever since his return from injury at the start of the season, he's just been on fire. Absolutely brilliant. Probably the best we've seen of Cal Crutchlow so far. Fingers crossed I haven't just jinxed him for the rest of the season.
Yep, you have, definitely.
Touch wood.
So, on to Mr. Valentino Rossi. And, some people who aren't me, definitely not me, it wasn't me, were already writing him off before the season. Fools.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think you were the only one. I think people with... lots of people that have been watching MotoGP for a number of years have written off Valentino Rossi, saying he's a little bit too old. In testing, but he wasn't really anywhere. But then again, for the last few seasons, Rossi hasn't really been anywhere in testing. The bike's been struggling. Maverick Vinales has been setting all the headline lap times. But when it comes to the race weekend, Rossi just seems to have it a little bit more clued up than Maverick Vinales does, when it comes to the race anyway. So a great big quote from Rossi over the weekend after the race. He said, "It was like I was young again." So watching Rossi in that race was vintage Valentino Rossi. It looked like he rewound the clock by about 15 years when he was chasing down Andrea Dovizioso.
And did you see how sort of out of breath he was as well, which was, I don't know if to say it was unusual, but maybe I was just sort of like realising just how old he actually is now, because he didn't seem as, well, I was out of breath just walking up some steps today, and I'm not that far behind his age, but yeah, he seemed like he was feeling it a bit more, potentially.
Yeah, possibly. It was quite hot in Argentina. I'm not saying that was the reason why he was feeling it, but it does take a lot of mental concentration, a lot of physical concentration to get these MotoGP bikes around a circuit over the course of 20 plus laps. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he was feeling it a little bit. He did look a little bit tired, but then again, Rossi has always really looked like that. He's a really skinny guy. He always looks like when he gets off the bike that he really shouldn't be riding a MotoGP bike. It looks like he's got no muscle on him, no fat on him at all. It's just skin and bone. So yeah, it was a great ride by Rossi. He hunted down Dovizioso. You knew with 3 laps to go that Dovizioso was in trouble. He was going to get doctored, as we'll say that, and he did. As soon as Rossi got past him, Dovizioso had nothing for him. So it was quite a good wee record, because 23 years to the day, so March 31st, it was 23 years to the day since Rossi made his 125cc debut back at Shah Alam in Malaysia in 1996. So he scored his 233rd podium this weekend. So he was asked in the press conference afterwards, what's the biggest difference between then and now? And he said back then it was like black and white television. So it was running like black and white television back then. So fantastic record by Rossi.
It wasn't even widescreen, was it?
No, it wasn't even widescreen. Yeah. I think it was the big tubular TVs you used to have back then. I remember them as well. They were quite a while ago.
Yeah, not even HD. Can you imagine that, kids?
Probably would just see a smudge on the TV screen. Blind. It was that long ago.
But yeah, 23. I mean,
yeah, 23 years to the day. So 24th season scoring MotoGP podiums. So, and it looks like he's not done scoring those podiums just yet. And if Yamaha could maybe sort out the bike a little bit more to challenge Ducati and Honda, you never know. We might even see him win a race. There was another couple of wee records coming from Rossi over the weekend, scoring the podium. He is the first rider at 40 years old or plus to finish on a podium in any class since Marcelino Lucchi at Brno in 1998, and that was in the 250 class. So Rossi was Rossi was actually racing that season in the 250 class, so he raced against Lucchi back then. And in the top class, no one has been on the podium, so that's the 500cc class back then in MotoGP now, since Jack Finlay at the Austrian Grand Prix back in 1977, so 2 years before Valentino Rossi was even on this earth. So that's an incredible stat.
It is. Well done. Where did you get those stats from? Were they your stats or?
No, I wish they were my stats. Martin Rains. So most people know who that is. He's the doctor of statisticians, whatever you call it, statistics in MotoGP. So he's absolutely brilliant. If you don't follow him on Twitter, I think it's MotoGP Mart, at MotoGP Mart. So follow him out if you love your MotoGP stats.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martin Rains.
Yeah. Still good stats anyway, but yeah, and it was fantastic for Rossi, and fantastic maybe as well for the sport of MotoGP to see him doing so well at his age as well.
Yeah, he kind of schooled his younger teammate Maverick Vinales again this weekend. Not saying that that'll happen throughout the rest of the season, but Maverick Vinales does seem to be a little bit lost in the races at the moment through testing and practice and qualifying. Brilliant, but when it comes to races he does struggle a little bit, but I'll come to that a little bit later on. In third place we had Andrea Dovizioso, who scored his second ever podium in Argentina, his first since 2015 when he finished second behind Rossi after the Marquez-Rossi clash. So he looked like that he was riding at his best around the circuit for the first time ever, so that's quite good, because Ducati and Dovizioso tend to struggle at the Termas de Rio Hondo circuit. So with him back on the pace and finishing a few seconds, or within a second behind Rossi, but 10 seconds down the road of Marquez, it looks bad, but at the same time it isn't really. So it's quite good for him. Moving on to Marc Marquez's teammate, Jorge Lorenzo. Now, he had an absolute nightmare of a race. Weekend wasn't that great. He's still struggling from the injury he sustained at Qatar with a broken rib, and obviously the scaphoid injury from pre-season. But he managed to hit the pit lane limiter at the start of the race, right off the starting grid. He was lucky that he did start so far back that no one really hit him, or no one did hit him, but no one did hit him or had a chance to hit him off the start of the grid. So that was quite lucky. But when he did get going, he was running at the pace of Rossi and Dovizioso. So if he got a good start, you never know. He could have actually made his way up through the field and maybe challenged for the podium. But coming back to Lorenzo, this is quite a weird wee stat that I found today. Lorenzo has scored 7 points in 2019 so far, which is more than he scored in 2017 and in 2018 at this time of the season. So if you want to put a positive spin on things, he's actually looking all right at the moment.
Okay, I'll let you put that out there. I'm not responding to that, but maybe I'll ask a question about that, a cheeky question, a bit later on, which may or may not involve Lorenzo fans.
Yeah, lots more MotoGP news. Miguel Oliveira finished as top rookie, chasing down Paul Espargaro as the KTM, so for KTM honours, and he's looking really good, starting to get his head around the KTM at the moment, and it looks like he might be trouble for the factory KTM boys, none other than Johan Zarco, who had another terrible weekend, still trying to get used to the front end feeling of the KTM. Maverick Vinales feels that the 2.5 years he spent at Yamaha, he's made no progress with the feeling of the front end of the bike, apart from when it came to Australia last year, because he won the race. So that's the only time he said he felt like he had front end grip. So he's really struggling with that at the moment, and with the way the Yamaha is, it doesn't look like it will get any better anytime soon. So fingers crossed we won't see him having the same issues mentally as he did in 2018. And a recent interview from Marc Marquez earlier in the week, I think it was Tuesday, he said that he believes that Dovizioso, no surprise there, is his main championship challenger, and he believes that Valentino Rossi won't be too far behind. So since they were the top three in the championship last year, we tend to forget that because Marc Marquez ran away with that again. So he believes that we've got Dovizioso really challenging this year, and maybe even Valentino Rossi could be in there because he was only managed to, he finished fifth at Qatar, six tenths off the win, and obviously finished second this weekend. And he was also asked a cheeky wee question if he ever believes that Valentino Rossi and him could ever be teammates in the future, and he said, well, if he's racing until he's 50, then maybe, but yeah, I wouldn't get my hopes up. I don't think Rossi will be racing until he's 50, and I don't think, even if he is racing until he's 46, maybe. I don't think we'll see Marc Marquez or Valentino Rossi as teammates ever. So, yeah, it'd be quite cool to see. I would see a lot of clashes, but at the same time, I don't think it'd really happen. Now, coming over to Cal Crutchlow, I know this has sparked up a lot of controversy over the weekend and throughout the week. Lots of people are outraged by it, none other than Cal Crutchlow himself. But there's video footage that was released by MotoGP, which is quite good of them to finally release something that they made a decision on, because they don't usually do this. So it shows that Cal Crutchlow had moved in his starting box. And he was just basically saying that he didn't let the clutch out. He was just balancing the bike on his toes. The bike moved by not even a centimetre. And it's reading article 1.18 and section 4. Oh, yeah. If it would load up again.
Is that the one where it says your bike must not move on the grid?
Yes. I was about to read it out, but unfortunately... Oh, there we go. Finally got it loaded up. So it says... Any rider who anticipates the start will be required to carry out a ride-through described under Article 1.19. So I think they're kind of saying that it looked like it could have been anticipation of the start as well. The motorcycle must be stationary at the time the red lights are turned off. Anticipation of the start is defined by the motorcycle moving forward at the time of the red lights turning off.
See, I was going to ask, what about if you accidentally roll backwards like a millimetre? Would that be classed? Because it's still movement.
I think it would be. Yeah. I think it's just if it's moving whatsoever. It's basically rocking. So it's like rocking on the... MotoGP bikes don't tend to do this, but some bikes do sort of rock on the revs a little bit when they're on the starting grid. So that's what they're saying.
Because what if you've got like an itchy nose and then you just go scratch it and then the bike moves a little bit and then boom, then you're penalised. Then that's not fair, is it? So
it's not really. I mean, again, no advantage off the starts. So it's whatever you interpret it to be, and it was Freddie Spencer who was in the stewards in race direction who handed out the penalty. So as you can remember back to the 1980s, when Freddie Spencer was winning all his championships, there were people jumping the start all the time. I think you actually had to bump start your bike at the starting grid. I think that's what the case was back then. So it's one of those things. Unfortunately, Cal Crutchlow got a penalty that didn't fit the crime. I mean, if you got a penalty, it would have been better for him to have used like the penalty lane, which is on the outside of turn number 7. A right-through penalty for such a minor infringement was a bit unfair, probably.
Well, you seem to share the views of British Grand Prix clerk of the course, Stuart Higgs of BSB fame as well, who tweeted about this, and he actually posted a bit of video of when Leon Haslam, I think it might be Cadwell, either last year or the previous, Leon Haslam anyway, it showed him literally just sort of move his bike on the start grid just a tiny amount, but he sort of like stopped, and then the lights came on. Well, he moved when the lights came on to red, and then stopped, and then they went out again, and he got away. And Stuart claimed that wasn't technically gaining an advantage, and you could argue that it wasn't, but there again, nobody else moved. And they're the rules. They're the same rules that everybody... I mean, if everyone just moves a little bit, then it's just a little bit more, a little creep here by everyone, because if the guy next to him goes, well, he creeped a little bit, maybe I can creep a little bit, but I wasn't getting an advantage. And then if everyone does that, then... where does it stop? So you've got to put your foot down somewhere. Rules is rules. Stop whinging, Cal.
I hope Cal Crutchlow's not watching this, because I think he'd be knocking on your door any second now to give you...
You're welcome to come on the show, Cal, and debate it if you want, but them's the rules, and it's unfortunate. If you do get caught out, or if you make a mistake, but same rules for everyone.
What people are saying, and I get this, is that he didn't get an advantage whatsoever, and I think if it's a slight movement, I mean, as you said, you'd be like getting an itchy nose, you just slightly move. So it was him basically saying that he was just trying to balance the bike on his tiptoes. He's not a tall rider, he's quite a short rider, so maybe that was the case. We won't really know, but the riders probably next to him wouldn't have even seen him move. Maybe they would have, but they probably wouldn't have seen him move. So gaining an advantage, probably not, but the rules is the rules, unfortunately. And if you read Article 1.1, Section 14, then that's what it says. That
go read that article.
Yeah, so another couple of wee cases within it. It says, in the case of a minor movement and subsequent stop whilst the red lights are on, the designated officials will be the sole judge of whether an advantage has been gained. So I believe that was probably the one that they sort of went and looked at. So if you are going to get a penalty for it, for a small infringement like that, then I think the penalty lane would have been a lot better to use, because it would have still kept him in the race. He would have lost about 3 seconds, maybe a little bit less, but yeah, a red flag penalty was pretty harsh.
Yeah, I mean, what is the point of having a penalty lane for such a potentially a minor infraction, which was deemed to ultimately be, as you mentioned there, Liam, a case of steward's discretion, really, as to whether he was punished at all. So maybe they had a lighter option to punish him with, like you said, the penalty lane.
Yes.
Was that even used all weekend?
I don't believe it was, actually. So the penalty lane is pretty much just there if someone exceeds track limits too often. Now, you could argue that Cal Crutchlow gained less of an advantage from moving slightly on the grid than maybe someone would for running off the track a lot more. So the penalty doesn't fit the crime as much, but someone that gains an advantage by running off track has less of a penalty than someone that just moves ever so slightly on the starting grid. So, yeah.
Chris Howell's been back on, and he says the only other rider who was near Marquez. I think there was another thing that you mentioned. He says, "Oh, come on! What about Marquez last year when he stalled?" Good point. The Spanish mafia, he says, Chris Howells, gets away with it. Strong opinion there from everybody.
Absolutely. Well, it's good to have the opinions, but Marc Marquez did get a ride through last year for what he done in the starting grid. So, yeah, he stalled in the grid, jumped off the bike, started pushing it around the starting grid, rode it backwards. So that was the thing that really was against the rules. So riding it backwards towards the rest of the grid as the race was about to start. So he got a ride through for that, and then obviously, as you know, started crashing into everyone trying to make his way through the field. And so, I
think he was instructed to actually get off the grid, because that is the procedure, but he basically sort of waved them off, said go away. And,
yeah, it was quite a comical image of the URTA officials trying to chase Marc Marquez around the grid, trying to get him back into the pit lane. So yeah, he didn't get away scot-free with that one, but his pace was just so quick last year and this year that he just basically battled his way or barged his way through the field again. Exactly. So overtaking most of the riders. So it's unfortunate for Cal Crutchlow, and fingers crossed, maybe as we've seen in the last couple of weeks, the MotoGP rules are very, very loose at the moment, and they probably need reworded again and tightened up, as we've seen from the Ducati thing or the Court of Appeal. And
sounds like you've got an opinion under your hat there, Liam, if you want to get that one out.
Me opinionated? No, not ever. So, yeah, the MotoGP rulebook, it's just sort of open to interpretation at the moment. It's not like Formula 1, for example, where there's a lot of rules and regulations, and when someone does this, it goes slapstick penalty, there we go. We know exactly what it is.
And the biggest personalities in F1 never get away with anything, do they? So
I believe you've got an opinion there as well, which I am not going to get into with that one.
Anyway, shall we move on before we get ourselves into trouble?
Yeah, it's from Monday Motorsport.
Hi, Donna. Have you tuned in, Kiko? So, yeah. Anyway, what else happened in thy race? A lot, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, so as you might remember, in the final lap, Franco Morbidelli, Maverick Vinales and Danilo Petrucci were all battling for 6th place into the Turn 7 hairpin. And Morbidelli, unfortunately, took out Maverick Vinales when Petrucci passed Vinales. So Morbidelli, just after the race, they were all fine, uninjured, which is good. Just said it was great luck that they weren't injured, and that Vinales especially wasn't injured after he took him out. But he believes that a double slipstream was the cause of the crash. So basically, going into the corner, he carried more speed than he had done throughout the entire race because of a double slipstream from Petrucci and Vinales.
Yeah.
And
Sounds like I
Vinales
had too
went...
much speed, so I can handle it.
Yeah, that's basically what he's saying. It's racist excuses, maybe.
Yeah.
What we're seeing.
It was too much.
And he also went on to say Vinales was slower mid-corner because Vinales was trying to get the cut back on Petrucci coming out the corner. So that's what caused the crash. That's what he said.
I'm vaguely remembering now because there was so much happening on that last lap. It seemed like, anyway. Rossi, I think, at one point, I don't think, no, this wasn't the last lap. It was, I think, just before Crutchlow. It was quite early on. Valentino dived down the inside of... Was that... I think it was Valentino. He dive bombed someone and went too deep and almost ran someone off the track. Am I remembering that right?
I remember a couple of it. Rossi ran wide into the turn 4, one of the hairpins.
Yeah.
We'll get it right eventually. The one just after the back straight, and it's because he just outbraked himself when Dovizioso nearly overtook him again for second spot. Vinales ran wide as well, which dropped him from about 4th or 5th down to about 7th because he nearly tagged the back of, I think, Morbidelli in front of him. So, and also Miller pushed Petrucci wide going into the hairpin, which allowed Alex Rins through with a few laps remaining as well. So, yeah, there was a lot of it going on throughout the race, especially within the top 7.
Yeah, I remember certainly that to get his second place, and I think they swapped places again. But Rossi's original second place, when he moved up to second place, it was a dive bomb past Dovizioso, and that kind of looked good.
Yeah,
I was cheering just like the crowd.
Were you impressed? Is that what you're saying?
It was like, I think it was a bit like, you could see that he still had a lot of fire in his belly. And it was,
The thing I had noticed from Rossi throughout this race is that, apart from the one mistake where he ran wide, he actually made less mistakes in this race than he has done in the recent past. So, as I said, it's like turning the clock back 15 years, and he said it was like riding when he was young again, because his passes seemed so meticulous and precise, which is what vintage Rossi was all about. Nowadays, he does sort of run a little bit wide when he overtakes and then gets a cut back on them. So it's just sort of a different way of racing that he does now. So it looked like it was the proper, meticulous, precise, and the Rossi of old.
I do still think, though, if he had done, or if someone else had done what he'd done in that race, though, he'd be screaming and crying about it and sort of falling out of friends with them and saying that they shouldn't ever race again and that sort of thing. And that
I would think that Rossi, along with Marquez, are probably the two most that are up for a fight within MotoGP. They just give as good as they get, and as we saw in Rossi's younger years, the mid-2000s and the late 90s as well, is that he was giving it as good as he got, because he came through the tough 125 and 250 era when it was all the golden age of those lower categories as well. So, yeah, he tends to give as good as he gets. And even when he loses, he does enjoy a good battle. But obviously, deep down, he's pretty annoyed. So I'd say him and Marquez are probably the most that are okay with tough, close racing.
Okay, fair enough. I'll
probably just get screamed at in the comment section about that.
If you do disagree with anything that we've said on tonight's show, then you're more than welcome to get in touch with us. It's at M-Sport Radio on Twitter, Motorsport Radio on Facebook, and on Twitch as well. God, I keep remembering Twitch. We are on there.
You seem to remember Twitch more than anything now.
Well, it's because I made an effort to remember it, and then for we were streaming on there for like a year, and I never even mentioned it, and then obviously no one tuned in because I did. But anyway, but yeah, we're on Twitch. Hey kids, if you're streaming, and that's more of a gaming platform, I suppose. So whatever. So this is the Superbike Show. It's Motorsport Radio, and Liam Hodgins is here, almost like magic, directly from Glasgow. And Ed Hocknell off this evening. So you can get in touch with us. We are definitely live. Jay King has been in touch, former pit bike champion in Cool Fab Racing. Hello, Jay. He says Cal should just get 1 second added to his time at the end of the race.
I still prefer the penalty lane, because it gives you what you're seeing on screen or at the track is what's actually happening in the race. If you're just adding a second onto what someone's race time,
it's like an invisible thing. Yeah, I think I think it was Moto 2, and I think it might be Moto 3. Someone did get, I think, bumped down a position. I think it was Binder for something.
Yeah, Brad Binder was barging everyone out the way towards the end of the race, including knocking Marini off the track as well in the last couple of laps. So, yeah, it was quite late in the race, so they had to make a decision by just deducting him a couple of seconds.
Yeah, I noted that. He made a lunge, went deep, and pushed Della Porta wide. So there we go. I did watch the highlights of the race.
You're thinking of Darren Binder in Moto 3.
Oh, was it Darren?
Binder in Moto 2. Yeah.
Okay, well, whatever. All the Binders were up to no good this weekend. Soz.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, back to MotoGP then. And what else have we got?
So moving on to Moto 2 now.
Okay, Moto 2 now.
Yeah, so Moto 2 has seen a bit of unfortunate problems, big problems with Javi Vierge, who qualified in pole position for Mark VDS. It only is a second ride for the team. And unfortunately, on the warm-up lap, the bike stopped. So he couldn't take up his position, which was horrible for him because he had the pace all weekend to, pardon me, to
just like what
won the
That's
race.
what his bike did.
So, yeah, his bike died just as much as I feel like I'm dying at the moment. And his bike died, unfortunately, on the warm-up lap, which is a shame because he could have went on to win the race. If not, probably would have been on the podium because, as we saw from his teammate Alex Marquez, he went on to finish third, which is his first podium position for a long, long time. So it could have been Javi Vierge up there as well. But it was the return of Lorenzo Baldassarri. I don't know why I'm saying return because he never really went away because he's won both of the opening two races in this year's Moto2 Championship. And fun fact, he's the only rider to win on a Triumph. So I know that won't last. So it's only been two races with Triumph and the whole time in the MotoGP paddock. So he won again, carving his way through the field. At the last couple of laps, he made a move on Remy Gardner, which pushed Remy Gardner a little bit wide. But it was not too bad for Remy Gardner whatsoever because after coming off such a strong result and just missing out on the podium by 0.02 of a second at Qatar, he went and took his first podium in second place. So he was saying it was a long time coming, jumping up and down for joy. Great race by Remy Gardner. And he led for most of the race, sort of had a bit of a buffer between him and the rest of the field for most of it until the last few laps when Lorenzo Baldassarri came barreling through and just pushed him a little bit wide on the brakes. But he says it's no issue whatsoever because he was giving it as good as he gave as well. So Remy Gardner is looking like someone to keep an eye out for the rest of the season. So now that he's off the Mistral Tech 3 machine, which has been on for the last couple of seasons, and now in a Calyx, he's really showing his true potential. And it's quite a good wee story that came from him scoring his first podium because 2 years ago, at his very own same circuit, when he was starting to show potential the first time round, he badly broke his leg after a crash at turn 1. So now that he managed to score a podium, he's sort of buried those demons at the Argentinian track. And it was an unfortunate day for Sam Lowes, who did crash out of the race at the turn 7 hairpin. So there's going to be a lot of incidents going on at that hairpin this weekend. And Thomas Luthi also crashed out of the race this weekend. So those two are going to be kicking themselves. Two of the favourites for the championship this year and have already let Lorenzo Baldassarri off at the start of the season. So they're going to have to claw their way back. But we're going to Kota next, where Sam Lowes, as you remember, won his first ever race in Moto2 on the speed up in 2015. So, he goes really well around that track, and we could see him maybe doing it again. And Thomas Luthi, you can never count him out in the Moto2 field. He always seems to pull a win from somewhere. He's always in championship hunt. So even if he has a bad start to the season, his second half of the season always seems to be a little bit stronger.
Okay. I think it was Marcel Schrotter who was leading for some or most of the race, if my memory serves correct. Do you remember what happened to him? Was it, I think there was an incident?
I think it was Brad Binder once again. So,
okay. Was that the incident that got the thing? Was that the...
It was Brad Binder with Marcel Schrotter, and then again with Luca Marini a little bit later on in the race. So, yeah, Brad Binder was a naughty boy at the weekend, and he cooked himself a wee penalty. It didn't really do too much to him, but the KTMs were looking a lot better this weekend than they did at Qatar, but they're still not looking great. They're still having a few chassis issues. So maybe they'll get that sorted throughout the season, and we can see them bump up the field. But it's such a shame for Marcel Schrotter because after coming off his first podium in Qatar, he was looking in contention for getting another one. So he's really stepped up this season. We know he has the speed because he was showing it in practice and qualifying of 2018 in Moto2, and we could just see him going from strength to strength throughout the season, Leicester.
Okay, yeah, that was answers my question as to what happened to him, because I do remember him sort of being out front, and he was leading, and there was a great fight between him at the time, Marquez and Gardner. Marquez was second at the time, but he ended up finishing third. Gardner, as you say, finishing in second place, and then he ultimately Schrotter finished down in fifth place with Binder in sixth, or I think Binder crossed the line in fifth, and then he was bumped down to sixth, didn't he? I think. Yes,
that does ring a bell. So he does, yeah. It was a shame for Luca Marini because Luca Marini got ahead of Binder, and then he still ended up behind Binder even after Binder's penalty. So I don't think he was too pleased about that.
Fair enough. Did we see why Sam Lowes went down? What was the issue? It was just one of the front end crashes into the turn 7 hairpin. So down he went, and unfortunately never made it back into the race, which was a bit of a shame for Sam Lowes. But you know, Sam, he's probably one of the most determined riders in the world, so he will end up bouncing back from it, and we'll see him probably, or hopefully, being quite strong at the Circuit of the Americas in 2 weeks. Or no, next weekend. Oh, is it next week? Oh my God.
Yeah. Not this weekend, the weekend after.
Oh, in 2 weeks then.
Yeah, so yeah, we're getting close towards the end of this week, so it's only a week and a bit.
Fair enough. Jake Dixon, what happened to him?
He had a sort of solid ride for what he's had so far. Still getting used to the Moto2 bike. He still make it, as I say, solid. It was a solid progress throughout the weekend.
You should do PR.
Race. Sorry?
You should do PR, really.
Yeah, he had a bit of a collision with Tulovic over the weekend. In qualifying, he was really unhappy with Tulovic as he believes that he got held up on his fastest lap, which was the last lap of the session, and Tulovic just cut across him, and it could have taken them both out. So that really set him up on the wrong foot for the race the next day. So yeah, he's making slight progress, but we've really got to wait until Jerez, and when we get back to Europe, a track that he has tested a Moto2 bike on before we can actually see how much progress Jake Dixon has made.
Okay, well, he got his own back anyway after qualifying, because he finished ahead of Tulovic, how would we pronounce it?
Tulovic, or Tulovic, however you say it.
Yeah, Lucas, anyway, I'm going to call him. So yeah, Jake Dixon ending the race in 17th place ahead of his weekend nemesis, Tulovic. And yeah, so that's what happened. There's quite a few DNFs in that race. There was 1, 2, 3. There was Manzi, Luthi, Lowe's, Di Gianantonio, Buliger, Martin, and Corsi. Quite a few DNFs I noted. Just I don't have a point. I just,
It seems to be a track that does encourage DNFs, the Termas de Rio Hondo circuit. So
a lot of lunges as well, especially.
Yeah, a lot of lunges, a lot of riders take each other out, hard braking zones, and yeah, even towards the end of the lap, there's a lot of switchback action going on. So riders do tend to hit each other, braking late, trying to gain an advantage, trying to gain back some time they've lost. So, and it's also quite a dirty circuit offline. So if you do run offline, there's quite a high chance that you will go down as well.
Yeah, that was an interesting point. I did basically think when you suggested the idea, why didn't they use the penalty lane, whatever it's called, because it might have been a bit too dirty. Imagine a rider getting a light penalty, say Crutchlow maybe, for a slight movement, allegedly, getting a slight little drive through in this penalty lane, and then because it's so dirty and so slippy because nobody goes through it, it goes down.
Yeah.
In that case, you would have preferred a drive through in the pits, wouldn't you? So,
well, maybe. I mean, if you go down there and get back on, then you might have saved time rather than running through the pits. The thing that I'm still waiting on, I think it probably will happen. I mean, the case of this actually happening is quite low, But if someone does get a penalty and goes through or goes round the penalty lane and someone ends up falling off because at the turn 7 hairpin, that's where you saw most of the incidents happen, is through there. So, and if you saw the people that did crash there, they did go across the penalty lane. So if someone does crash there and someone's going across the penalty lane, you never know. You might wipe the rider out. So stranger things have happened in MotoGP.
And they will continue to do so, certainly. Moto 2 being less eventful, I think, than the first round. Is that fair to say? I think the first round, it was a little bit... I think we were all a bit surprised at how much action there was in Moto 2.
Towards the end of the race, obviously, Thomas Luthi catching Lorenzo Baldassarri. I would say that it was just typical Moto 3, that you sort of get a bit of action here, there. It's definitely not in the same scope as MotoGP and Moto 3, so it's one of the... It's a class with the less stories coming out of it.
So diplomatic.
Yeah. So it has to be.
Anyway, so we will continue to see how well Jake Dixon goes for the rest of the season. A lot of people... Well, some people. Well, there was one person actually on the BSB supporters and the fans Facebook fans group, which I believe might be the largest BSB fans group in the world. Someone asked basically why did he go to Moto 2, because he doesn't look like he's impressing. And maybe that was an open question. Maybe you've
got to remember the Moto 2 is probably the hardest, most difficult class to master. You could be within a couple of seconds. You could be within a second, but end up being 21st.
It is a proper make or break.
Yeah, lots of promising riders have come up from Moto 3 and then just not impressed in Moto 2, so they've gone nowhere.
Yeah, Marquez.
Danny Kent, for example. Unfortunately for Danny Kent, it's just the way it works. So lots of riders have said that going from Moto 3 to MotoGP or Moto 2 to MotoGP, it's actually easier to become acquainted with the MotoGP bike because you've also got more of the electronic aids, you've got the slipper clutch, you've also got the seamless gearbox, so it's just a little bit easier to manage. And a lot of riders actually feel like the chassis and the riding styles just seem to fit a bit more with the chassis in MotoGP. So the biggest jump is definitely going from Moto 3 to Moto 2. And every rider that goes into Moto 2 is a brilliant rider anyway. So you can't get into Moto 2 without being a good rider. Yeah. So it's just unfortunate some of them stall at Moto 2 level. It is the most difficult class in the Grand Prix paddock at the moment, and possibly even in the world at the moment. So it's a shame it does happen. So maybe one day, and maybe with the Triumph engines, and when people get the head around it a little bit more, because there's electronic aids on the bike now. There's a lot of rider aids that sort of become more accustomed to what you could expect from a jump to Moto 2 to MotoGP. It just helps the transition of that become a little bit easier. And obviously in Moto 3 they use electronic aids as well. So jumping from Moto 3 to Moto 2 is a little bit easier instead of just going from Moto 3 to a bog standard racing bike without any slipper clutch or without any seamless gearbox. It's making that a little bit easier now in 2019. So we might see people that have come up with the class actually do a little bit better. For example, Remy Gardner is outstanding this year and is impressing absolutely everyone.
He's doing all right, yeah. He's, impressing, as you say.
Yeah.
That's why, basically, to answer the guy's question, whose name I've forgotten, in the BSB support group. So that's Liam's explanation of why Moto 2 is probably better than MotoGP. Because
I wouldn't say better, I would say more difficult.
You said one of the hardest in the world.
So the most difficult class to get your head around. So yeah, I probably had a horrible explanation for it. So
if I understood it, then
we hope.
It also potentially leads on to another question as to why maybe Jake didn't go into Moto 3 if he had the opportunity.
How old is Jake now? He's 23. So yeah, he's young enough, but at the same time, you wouldn't want to go from a Superbike in British Superbikes to Moto 3. It's just such a massive performance gap. You've got all this horsepower in a Superbike, and then you've got barely any of it. I can't remember the exact. I think like 75 brake horsepower in Moto 3. I could be wrong. Maybe roughly around that ballpark. So going from that, it's a completely different riding style as well.
But isn't it better to go into any championship and be competitive rather than go into a technically difficult, very, very difficult championship and be 17th?
Yeah, absolutely. But the Moto2 class will be more suited to what Jake Dixon is used to because the riding styles are more similar. Going down to Moto3 is a completely different ballgame from a Superbike. You've got to brake a lot later. There's obviously more momentum to try and carry through the corners on a Moto3 bike, so you don't lose all of that speed through the corners as well. Obviously, slipstream's a massive thing. You can't lean back the bike over as much because the tyres are a lot thinner, so Jake Dixon will be used to these big, chunky tyres in Superbikes and then going down to Moto3, which is pretty much, a third? Maybe, certainly over half of the width of a Superbike tyre in Moto3, so it's just a completely different riding style to what he's been used to in the Superbikes for the last few years. So Moto2 is a better stepping stone for him. You could probably argue that maybe MotoGP would have been easier for him just to go straight into MotoGP, but there was no rides in MotoGP at the time. So he's got a great team in the Angel Nieto Aspar team there. Yeah. So a team with a lot of experience in 125s, 250s, Moto3, Moto2, MotoGP. So he's got all the equipment there, all the tools there. And I think we haven't seen the best of Jake Dixon yet because he's going to circuits that he doesn't know. So when he comes back to Europe, to more familiar circuits that he's possibly raced on in the past, he's definitely tested at Jerez during the off-season, we could definitely see Jake Dixon pushing it inside the points. And he finished 17th at the weekend, which isn't too bad for a circuit that he's never been to before.
When you put it like that, yeah, okay. You've okay, fair enough.
Convinced you, hopefully.
I was never not convinced. We all know his talents and what he can do, and we know how competitive he is, and we really do want him to be doing well, and we want to see him doing well, and we don't really like seeing him down in 17th place towards the. He
won't be there forever. I believe he'll move up further in the grid as the season goes on, and he gets his head around the Moto2 bike a little bit more, and goes to more familiar circuits.
Yeah, Chris Howell's been back on and says, Dixon has just got to find his feet, which is a shorter way of all the stuff you just said.
I could have just said that and then just saved everyone about 5 to 10 minutes of rubbish rambling on.
But thank you for the explanation anyway, Liam. Right, so moving on, or we've not yet finished Moto2, have we?
No, we've finished Moto2, yeah. Right, but moving... Sorry, you were going to say? Yeah, well, the championship standings, actually, we usually have some nice fancy graphics, but not today. In case you're wondering, the Moto2 World standings, Baldassarri at the top with 50 points. Remy Gardner a long way back in second place with 33 points. It's a big gap.
And then it's Schrotter in third on 27 points, and Alex Marquez in fourth place, 25th. Put up a bit of a decent show at the week. Yesterday. No, not yesterday. At the weekend. Yeah. I'm thinking it's Sunday for some reason. Don't know why. Alex Marquez putting a decent show in his make or break season, I think. So he's hanging on in fourth place. All to play for, of course. It's only the second race. Marini in sixth. The highest placed Brit is Sam Lowes, even though he didn't have the race that he expected. He is just outside of the top 10 at the moment. So that's the Moto2 World Standings. And this is the Superbike Show. It is Motorsport Radio. Hello, my name's Lester. We've got Liam Hodgins here, and we will get on to talking about BSB, World Superbikes, everything else, and Moto3 next.
The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.
Hey everyone, Bradley Smith.
Hi guys, I'm Danny Buchan.
Hi, I'm Tom Sykes.
This is Motorsport Radio.
And head to our website, motorsport.radio, for the very latest in motorsport podcasts. Yes, I said it. And you can download the audio and listen back. And just because we are live, it doesn't mean that you have to listen to us live, because you can just download us whenever you want, basically. You can tune in to us at 5 a.m. We've also got the 24/7 radio stream. Yes, full of fantastic interviews that we have compiled in our 2.5 years that Motorsport Radio has been alive. Now, it seems a lot longer, but it's only 2.5 years. And so we've got loads of archive interviews from everything from Formula One, from all the stuff, interesting guests that have been on this show and other shows as well, and plus people that we bumped into in the paddock. Loads of stuff to do. We've also got some fantastic articles as well, Liam, haven't we? We've got race reviews as well, so you can keep up to date if you've been at a race, BSB maybe, at the weekend, and you want to go back and find out who won in No Limits at the weekend, for example, or somewhere like that. Check it all out. Loads of race reviews, loads of stuff to do, loads of cool things, and as well, if you're a budding journalist or a radio presenter and you want to be where maybe we are right now, presenting a show or being on a show, then it's quite simple. You can get in touch with us on the usual places, or you can send us a nice discreet email, hello@motorsport.radio. That's hello@motorsport.radio. That's the email address. Simple as that, basically. And that's what Liam did, and that's why he's here. Basically everyone who's on our large team that we've got. My name is Lester. Liam Hodgins is here, and we're going to talk about Moto 3 now, because that was interesting. Again, yeah. I think it was a 17-bike scrap coming into the last lap, wasn't it? So.
It was classic Moto 3 action once again. You just can't get enough of it. Every race tends to be turning into this modern day classic. Now, we did see Jaume Masia take his first ever win and his first ever podium in Moto 3 on the back of his first ever pole position. So you can say that he's just had a fantastic weekend. The funny thing about Jaume Masia is he's nicknamed Macaulay Culkin because he looks a bit like him. So he's got a wee sort of animation of Macaulay Culkin doing that whole screaming face on the back of his helmet. So he came in as a wild card a couple of years ago at Motorland Aragon, and he's just gone from strength to strength ever since. However, he was really quite lucky to actually make the start of the race, because on Sunday morning warm-up he had an almighty collision with Garcia, one of the Estrella Galicia riders, who was... You didn't really see too much of what actually happened, but it looked like maybe Garcia was just going a little bit too slowly coming out of one of the corners, and Jaume Masia had no time to react because there was a bunch of riders, and he just crashed into the back of him. So both riders were actually very lucky to escape, and if it ended up any worse, then we wouldn't have been talking about how amazing Jaume Masia was at taking his first ever win, because it wasn't until about 3.5 laps remaining that we eventually saw him get towards the front of the group, because he was down towards the bottom end of the top 10 and even outside the top 10 for most of the race. So he just kept his head, kept a cool mind, made his way back to the pack and won it with a lot of grace, and very pleased for the kids. Unfortunately, the Argentinian crowd did turn out to see one man and one man only win the race, and that was Gabriel Rodrigo. Came so close to winning the race. He went into the final couple of corners, and second was lining up Masia for one, and unfortunately he had the crazy case of Darren Binder coming up the inside of him.
Yes.
Yeah, Darren Binder, you'll never get any more action. I mean, Moto 3 is already action packed as it is, but Darren Binder just seems to take it to a new level. Late on the brakes, going around the outside of people, barging up the inside of everyone. He's a bit crazy, as a lot of people have said in the class.
Should we rename him Darren Maldonado?
Let's not call him that yet.
Not yet. But wasn't that the incident where, and I forget because there was obviously so much action going on, but who touched wheels? Was it that incident that you just mentioned then, or was it something else?
No, it was Gabriel Rodrigo. Okay. You might be talking about something earlier on that happened, so I'll come to that.
I literally, like, my mind is like, I was trying to watch it, I'm like, oh my god, and I was trying to like do everything else at the same time, and yeah.
I mean, a Moto 3, so we've got to talk about Moto 3. We've got to go back and watch it about 3 or 4 times so you can catch every single incident that goes on. But the last lap, Gabriel Rodrigo did try and get the run back on Darren Binder, possibly towards the final corner and coming across the line, but touched the back of Darren Binder's rear wheel, had to set the bike back up, and unfortunately went from third back down to sixth. But it's still a fantastic ride. The greatest thing about the weekend, I would say personally, was every time that Rodrigo took the lead of the race, the crowd went nuts. You couldn't hear the bikes over the top of the crowd screaming, because the Argentinian fans are just so passionate. They love the racing, they love their bikes, and they've got a fantastic Moto3 rider in the making in Gabriel Rodrigo. So, yeah, fingers crossed we can maybe come back next year and we might see a bit more of that. Coming back to Darren Binder, he did take second place in a ride that no one really saw coming, because he started well down the order after a bit of a horrible run in qualifying. Never got his last lap together, but he believed that he could have won the race, but he was a little bit squashed out coming towards the final couple of corners. He had to go around the outside of a couple of riders and then managed to dive up the inside of Gabriel Rodrigo. He believes if he was on the inside, he would have got Gabriel Rodrigo and Jamin Messias. So Darren Binder showing how good he really is, and it's sometimes few and far between. He's a little bit inconsistent, but maybe this result might help him to be a lot more consistent throughout the rest of the season, and you never know, we could maybe see him get a win before too long. We hope, because he's a fun rider to watch.
Yeah, but there is literally a huge pack of almost 20 other riders literally like on top of each other. Just having a quick look at his qualifying performances this year. Darren Binder qualified in Qatar P24, completed one lap. I forgot what happened to him on that race. Retired, but I can't. Did he crash? I don't know what the reason was.
I'll have to go back and watch the race again.
Yeah, I have a crap memory. So I don't even... Yeah. And yeah, in Argentina, qualified better in 20th place and finished second. So yeah, you've got to give him credit for at least doing that, which, considering that the lead battle was 17 bikes long, you might say that it wasn't too difficult to just go from there to there. So anyway... But yeah, congratulations, I'd say. Yeah,
it's Darren Binder, typical Darren Binder. He doesn't really turn up until Sunday, because I don't think he's ever qualified inside the top 5. I could be very wrong, but you never tend to see him up the top of the timing screens.
Although he did qualify second at the Australian Grand Prix last year.
Oh, well, there we go.
And
there goes my stat out of the window.
Fifth in the Japanese Grand Prix last year. And... yes, so sorry to correct you.
And you said, Leslie, your mind was rubbish, so I think it's better than mine.
That's not coming out of my mind. I'm on the MotoGP website right now, just looking through his results. So yeah, I know what you mean though. He's going through the qualifying performances. He's very hit or miss. Mostly he's rubbish on the Saturday, and somehow manages to pull a decent result out of the bag, which is even more impressive considering it's Moto3.
Yeah, absolutely. You get to the front of the pack, and then all of a sudden, by the next corner, you're in 10th place. And that is something that John McPhee, unfortunately, found himself on the receiving end of. Yeah. He felt like he had the pace all weekend to even break away from the pack, but just got swallowed up on the straights, because in Moto3 that tends to happen. So he got to first throughout the race, and then got battled back all the way down to about 11th, 10th maybe. And he was starting to make his way back through the field when... going down the straight, you saw this out the back of the shot. It was Lopez just cutting across the track and completely swiping John McPhee's front tyre. They're both lucky to stay on, but what happened further around that lap is John McPhee then caused a bit of a crash and was out of the race. Now, he said after the race that was caused by Lopez cutting across the track, and he just had no rear brake after that. The front brake was still there, which was lucky, because if there was no front brake, then it would be an even bigger crash. But he believes that maybe it cut the rear brake line, and when he went into the final turn, no rear brake left, and he just couldn't get the bike stopped because he was starting to come back up the field with a few laps remaining. So it was a shame, because John McPhee did top a few of the sessions, FP2 and FP3 over the weekend, so he looked like he was in great form. Qualified badly in about 11th, but then again, he had the race pace to try and win it towards the end. So we did miss him out from the action, which would have been great seeing John McPhee battle out with Darren Binder, Rodrigo, Masia, Arbolino, the lot. But on a positive note for the British fans, is that Tom Booth Amos finished in 18th. I know it doesn't sound great, but he did say that he made a big step forward this weekend. So he is teammates to Darren Binder. And he said that this weekend he suffered from the issues that Darren Binder suffered over pre-season and at Qatar. Like Darren Binder got a bit of an upgrade on the bike, and he will have that for the next round at the Circuit of the Americas. So, yeah, it's looking positive for Tom Booth Amos. And he did say that Jakob Kornfeld, after he crashed or he was trying to chase Jakob Kornfeld onto the back of the bottom end of the podium, of the points, but Jakob Kornfeld crashed and it held him up a bit, so he didn't make his way up to the points, which is a bit of a shame. But it looks like Tom Booth Amos, once again a rookie and riding on tracks that he hasn't ridden on at all, is starting to show a lot of potential and a lot of progress. We know how good he is, and we can definitely see him moving up the order as the season goes on. So we just need to give him a bit of time as well. It was quite a funny wee quote that he did say about Darren Binder over the weekend, that he just said Darren Binder isn't right in the head, basically saying that he's just crazy out on racetrack. So yeah, he does think, as all riders do, but he just goes for moves that a lot of other riders would think maybe second about going for. So Darren Binder is definitely a bit of a party animal out on the racetrack.
Something like that. Again, very diplomatic, Liam. But yeah, Tom Booth Amos, did he actually finish in Qatar? I think he was like positioned down in 20 towards the back anyway. But yeah,
I don't believe he did.
Okay.
Or I think something happened throughout the weekend, so I think he did have a spill at some point. So that's what's popping in his head. Unless I'm like you this week. Memory is just gone.
Yeah, basically, we because we didn't watch it in real time. Well, Liam was watching on his phone, and we were on our way back from Clandau for the first round of the Cool Fab Racing British Minibikes Championship, which we'll briefly mention a bit later if we can summon the brain cells later on. But so we were sort of playing catch up with most of the racing action that happened at the weekend. But yeah, Tom Booth Amos. Good result, I would say. Onwards and upwards, a learning weekend all round, and it's good to see him. Perhaps not where he would expect to be. I don't know where his expectations lie at the moment. But finishing 18th with a whole load of other riders finishing behind you, decent. Yeah,
not too bad at all. I think his expectations are round about roughly where he's finishing at the moment. The first few rounds will just be about learning the tracks, learning the bike, getting more acquainted with the team. If you're doing that and just going about your job and with the right attitude, then that's good, because you'll impress the team. And as the season progresses, you'll just end up working your way up the order as you become more acquainted with the bike, the team, and come towards circuits that you're more familiar with. So when you come back to Jerez in Europe again, he's done a few of those rounds within Europe before, so he's not a stranger to any of them, so it will be quite good for him.
Fair enough. All right. Again, he will be one of the handful of British riders that we will be keeping an eye on. John McPhee did finish the race according to the classifications, didn't he?
No, I don't think he did. I think there was quite a lot of crashes in the race, so maybe he did get back on it, but
well, he's showing him crossing the line minus 26 seconds down, so I don't.
Oh well,
I didn't see him finish. I just presumed that he was a DNF, but the official DNFs were only two, Lopez and Perez. So yeah,
Vicente Perez is who he took out in the collision. So, and Lopez was the one he clashed into. So yeah, he's got a bit of a connection to both of them.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Another person that I had a lot of fanfare at the end of last year, you might remember, took his a debut win at the last round in Valencia, race you were actually at as well, Liam, weren't you?
Yeah, Chan on Chu.
Yeah, Chan on Chu. Anyway, had a dismal Qatar weekend, had an even worse Argentina weekend. What's going on with the golden Turkish boy?
Well, I've got to remember that he's still 15 years old. He hasn't seen a lot of these racetracks. There's a lot of pressure on him. He's been seen as one of the most bright young talents to emerge within the last few years, I would say. along with his twin brother Dennis, who's racing in the CEV Championship this year.
Dennis must be well annoyed. He's like,
oh yeah, especially since he's the slightly older twin. Yeah, you'd be really annoyed at that. So Chan On-Chu dominated Red Bull Rookies last year, was competing in the CEV Championship, struggled a little bit compared to what we expected him to do in that championship, but still managed to pull a podium towards the end of the season. Went and got a wild card in Moto3 in Valencia, won the race in tricky conditions, and won it commandingly. It was a fantastic ride, but once again, we need to remember that he's still young. He's still learning how the Grand Prix paddock works, and we can't put too much pressure on the kid. He's only 15 years old, and he's got a race win behind him, so the pressure would already be building up for him to do this again. So I think he's another one of these rookies that when we get back to tracks that he's more familiar with in Europe, then we will start seeing more of him.
Often forget how young some of these Moto3 riders are. So yeah, fair play. Only 15, and. But there again, if you set a precedent on your debut in Moto3 of all championships, which is the most craziest to try and ever get a winner, and it was a crazy race, as they all are, then surely, I don't think we are putting an unnecessary amount of extra pressure on him to at least try and get somewhere near to what he did in his debut. I don't think that's unreasonable of us.
In the dry, he was very quick around Valencia, qualified within the top 10, but it was a track that he knew already. Now he's coming to tracks at the start of the season that he's never really been to before, Qatar, and they've done a wee test there. So he's done a lot better at Qatar than he did in Argentina. But we're going to Circuit of Americas next, which he's never raced on before. But then we're going to go back to Jerez in Spain, which he has ridden on before in the Red Bull Rookies, going to Le Mans, which he's done before, and we're going to Catalonia, Mugello. So, and Sachsenring, he's had a great success around Sachsenring as well. So when we get back to the meaty part of the season, then we will start seeing a lot more of Chan On-Chu. And we've got to remember that his race win did come in wet conditions. So it wasn't really a case of dry conditions where it's just all out, go for it. It was just, he just showed his potential and his true talent in wet conditions, especially in a world-class field like Moto3.
Okay. Fair enough. And I wasn't keeping an eye on how everybody's good friend Romano Fenati was getting on, mostly because I was glued to trying to keep up with the huge sort of mess of bikes up at the front. But he did finish in 16th place, no points. How come? What was his... I don't even know what happened to him in the race.
To be honest, it was one of those races that you forgot Romano Fenati was in until you go halfway through and go, wait a minute, Fenati's in this class. Where is he? And then he scrolled down.
He's not tried to kill anyone. He's not drove through any pit lanes by accident. He's not caused any controversy. Yeah, so it was a quiet race for him.
Yeah, it was a very quiet race for him. And you've got to say, when Romano Fenati's quiet, it's never a good weekend for him. When he's a bit more aggressive and punching his way towards the top, then literally, it's a good weekend for him. Not literally.
No, I'm just being facetious, but yeah, Fenati is. I think we correctly identified that he, if anybody in Moto3, will have probably more pressure on him because more people will be looking for him to fail.
Yeah,
and mess up.
I know lots of people aren't happy with him and don't like him, but it's a shame that it's got to this point where Romano Fenati is getting looked at to fail in the Grand Prix paddock. So I think there'll be obviously races this year where he will be right up the top, fighting for race wins and podiums. But then, typical Romano Fenati, throughout the years in Moto3, he's very inconsistent. He's either up the top, fighting for podiums and race wins, or he's basically nowhere. He's further down the points. And even in this case, he was outside the points. I think he finished second last from the top riders that were actually in the group that were battling out for the win. Yeah. So there was 17, 18 riders in that group, and he finished 16th, which is not a good reflection of what he can actually do.
Yeah, he finished slightly ahead of Ayogura from the Japanese, rider there, who I don't even know who that is.
Came up from the CEV Championship last year, Ayogura.
Oh, No, don't still no idea. So Moto 3, I'm going to ask you to rate how the races were from your point of view. Liam, probably won't work too well because we don't have Ed here to bounce reviews off each other. But I'm going to ask you to rate it anyway out of 10. 10 being the best and 1 being rubbish. How was Moto 3?
10 out of 10. You can't argue with it. Well, you've got a last lap scrap with so many bikes going for the race win. It's always got to be a 10 out of 10. It reminded me a bit like Australia last year when you just had, especially coming down the back straight, you had about 5 riders abreast going into that hairpin. It was crazy racing, great fun all the time. If this is your first time tuning into the Superbike show and you don't know what we're talking about, please, whatever you do, check out Moto3 racing. It is some of the most fun you'll ever watch on TV.
Tis. Yeah, I can verify for that. Going back to Moto 2 then, I probably should write these down, but I forgot what we rated it last time. But what would you rate Moto 2 at the Argentinian Grand Prix?
I think it was a slightly better race than Qatar. There seemed to be a bit more. Lorenzo Baldassarri ran away with it in Qatar. He was gone.
I think we all rated it something like a 7 or an 8 or something.
Yeah, I think I rated it about a 4. I wasn't too impressed with the race. It was okay. Moto 2 racing is not as good as it used to. When it first came in, when it first was founded back in 2010, the racing was incredible. Very close. You had many riders battling it for the win, so it was great back then. But as the years have gone on, the Kalex chassis have just become too good, and every rider just seems to spread out. So I think it was slightly better than Qatar, so I'd probably rate it about a 5 out of 10.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay, I'll push it to a 6. I'll go 6. I feel like I was being a bit harsh there.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I think I've just, because of Brad Binder's, I won't say heroics, but shenanigans in the last couple of laps.
Binder. It was. Mind you, I think they were both at it as well. The Binders. Maybe they had a bet between them as to who could cause the most chaos. And,
I think it was Brad Binder won this weekend.
Yeah. Definitely, we'll want to watch them too for the wrong reasons. Anyway, what would you rate the Argentine Grand Prix? Of course, MotoGP as well. Didn't even ask you your rating on that, but. What would you rate that then?
The race for second was great.
Yeah,
second
it was all Marquez, but there was a lot of action behind. Generally speaking, overall,
I would say about 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. Because the race for second was really good fun. It was close. It was consistent, battling all the way through. You never really knew who was going to finish second and third, apart from when Rossi and Dovizioso pulled away from the rest of the pack. Jack Miller caused a good bit of racing, which is always great to watch him. Obviously had the battle between Petrucci, Vinales, Morbidelli. If it wasn't for Marc Marquez running away with it by about 15 odd seconds and then backing off in the last few laps, then it would have been a lot higher. So I'd give, since it was a good race throughout the rest of the grid, apart from Marc Marquez running away, I'd give it a 7 out of 10.
Okay. We are interested to get your opinions, of course. If you're tuned in live, then you're more than welcome to get in touch and tell Liam anyway, why he's wrong and your 10 out of 10 is correct. And you can even justify it, and we'll read it out live on the show. So, do that. It's at M Sport Radio. You can get in touch with us. Motorsport Radio on Facebook. Everywhere else as well. I always forget. I should write these things down. Twitch, YouTubes, and most importantly, of course, on our website, motorsport.radio. What, not .com? No, motorsport.radio. That's the actual web address. We have a .radio, yes. It still confuses some people, I know. Let us know from your point of view. And you're allowed to disagree. We encourage it, in fact. To tell us your ratings of MotoGP, Moto 2 and Moto 3 as well. This is the Superbike Show. It is Motorsport Radio. Hello and welcome. My name's Lester, and up next we will move on to the World Superbike Championship. Yes, they're still going, and it's back. It's back in action very soon.
The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.
Hey everyone, Bradley Smith.
Hi guys, I'm Danny Buchan.
Hi, I'm Tom Sykes.
This is Motorsport Radio.
And yeah, not usually the 6 or 7 month wait till in between World Superbike rounds. I kid, of course. But yeah, there's always a disproportionate amount of other stuff that happens, like, I don't know, seasons, for example. But yeah, they're back in action, and well, there's been a bit of breaking news in the this week actually, Liam, involving a returning championship team, former champions, and some idea that I think we had suggested on this show about 2 weeks ago. I think I did anyway. I at least thought it in my head, regarding Loris Baz.
Really? I don't know. No, I'm kidding on. Yeah, I just scared you a little bit less than I was kidding on. So if you've not seen it this week, probably one of the most popular teams in the whole of World Superbikes, Tenkate, will be returning to the 2019 World Superbike Championship.
We called it.
Yeah, we did, yeah. So, I mean, I would give us a pat on the back here for calling that. So it was you and Ed that sort of called it. Yeah. But Loris Baz will be returning to the series as well with Tenkate, and they will be running a Yamaha. So they've been running Hondas forever, up until the end of last year when Honda just sort of pulled it away from them and decided to create their own factory team. So it left Tenkate without anywhere to go. They sort of felt, I think they went a little bit bankrupt. So
that was the news story. That was the suggestion, but clearly not.
Yeah.
But
It's great to see them back. I've grown up watching Tenkate win Supersport titles with the likes of Christopher Mullen, Carl Mugridge, and then obviously doing the business in World Superbikes with James Toseland back in 2007, bringing in the likes of Ryuichi Kiyanari, Carlos Checa to win races, the likes, and it was such a shame to see them go at the end of 2018. So they will be running Yamahas, which is great because the Yamaha is a bike that is on the up, and they will get support from Yamaha as well. So Yamaha Europe will be helping them out. The only unfortunate thing is they won't be returning this weekend at Motorland Aragon. And they won't be returning at Assen, which is a shame because that is the home round and they get a lot of Dutch fan support at the home round. But it looks like they will be possibly, this is what's been suggested and rumoured, that we've only got to wait until Imola, which is in May, until we see the Tenkate team. I nearly said Tenkate Honda. I need to get the Honda out of my head.
Will make that mistake, but it was kind of rumoured as well for a small period of time that maybe Suzuki might come back and be a factory Suzuki team, maybe, but that clearly isn't the case.
I mean, we never know. Maybe 2020 could prove to be the year that Suzuki returns, and maybe Tenkate would, with all of their success in the past and them being a fantastic engine tuning company with Ronald and Gerrit Tenkate setting up that team back in the late 90s, I think it was. And maybe Suzuki would want to jump on board and partner up with Tenkate. So, yeah, as we said, we suggested it, well, we never suggested, but we predicted or at least speculated that Suzuki might return and possibly with Tenkate. Yamaha was a name that was bounced around a few times. Honda, even at one point, was bounced around as a name, but that was very, very, very quickly squashed. So it's good that they're returning, and with Yamaha, because Yamaha, apart from obviously Ray and Bautista on Ducati and Kawasaki, has been the bike to be on so far in the past 2 rounds.
I suppose, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people perhaps thinking as well that maybe there's just a couple too many other bikes also running the same Yamahas, and maybe that, I mean, because that's, I think, where the Suzuki suggestion came from, is that it would be, they'd have, like, in theory anyway, the factory backing, but we'll see what happens with them anyway. Good luck to them and to Baz, who apparently was looking into racing elsewhere. What do we know about this?
He was jumping right towards the end of last year when he didn't get a ride in the paddock. Him and his manager decided to either try and find a good ride or not ride at all. So they decided to set the season out, but they were looking at British Superbikes and also Moto America. So Moto America is the sort of spin-off from what was the AMA Superbike Championship. That died a few years ago, but then
doesn't Stuart Hicks also run Moto America as well? Isn't he?
He helps out. As far as I know, he helps out because it's Wayne Rainey, the ex 500cc champion from 1990, 91 and 92, who runs Moto America, and it's going from strength to strength. You've got likes of Tony Ellis over there battling out for championships. You've got Josh Herring, Cameron Bobby and stuff like that. So he was looking there, but decided not to go because Tenkate showed an interest, and he decided to wait for Tenkate to see what their plans for 2019 was, and he's been rewarded with a great ride. The Yamaha's got a good bike, better than the Honda has been for a long time, so he's got a good chance there. Tenkate is a fantastic team, one of the best in the paddock, so he's targeting podiums as soon as possible. So it's pretty much, I think he's targeting podiums when he gets to Imola. So if we could see that happening, that'll be brilliant. We know Loris Baz is a great rider. Unfortunately, kicked out of MotoGP a couple of years ago, which was a bit of a shame. He also was Tom Sykes' teammate for a number of years at Kawasaki.
How old is he?
And he is
in his 30s.
No, not. He's a very young rider because he won the European 600 Superstock title when I think he was 15 or 16. That was about 10 years ago. So I think he's 26, maybe 25.
Fair enough.
Maybe 27.
Any word or any rumour on maybe a second bike, or are they just sticking with Baz for now?
I think they're just sticking with Baz at the moment. There's not been any announcement of a second bike. Maybe towards the end of the season they might bring one in, but I think they're just really focusing on getting onto the World Superbike paddock, onto the grid. So they'll get there, see how they do, maybe get some podiums, maybe a race win. You never know. So I think they're just setting their targets realistically at the moment. They know they won't feature anywhere in the championship because by the time they come into the series, it'll be round 5 or possibly even round 6. So they're just got to have a bit of fun. Just build themselves back up from being unceremoniously dumped towards the end of 2018 by Honda. So fingers crossed, because as I've been saying for the past few minutes, Tenkate are one of the most popular teams on the grid, and it's great to see them coming back.
Certainly, yeah, something that I think most people would definitely agree with, and potentially that Yamaha deal, maybe, yeah, it is probably sensible to just see how things go. Even with a team with the pedigree that they have, it's still probably a big change for them. It's effectively a full reset, isn't it? Really,
yeah, absolutely.
A lot to learn. Starting from effectively zero mid-season as well, so they're on the back foot already, sort of thing. So in a way, they've kind of got nothing to lose by just coming in and you know, there's no expectation really, unless they set their own expectation by saying we're going to be fighting for podiums.
I think that was Loris Baz that was expecting that. Maybe Tenkate have sort of reined it back in just a little bit and gone, yeah, we'll see how it goes. Top 10 is a good starting point. And then maybe top 5s and then podiums from there. So we'll see how it goes.
Where do you think they'll be first race back?
I reckon top 10.
Yeah.
Top 10. I think they will be fighting it out with a couple of the Yamaha riders towards the mid-pack. So we'll see. It's hard to say because obviously Tenkate, I've never really seen a Yamaha before. So they've been Honda throughout the whole career.
Yeah,
wasn't
it something like over 10 years or something?
Nearly 20 years.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's been a long time with Honda, but they're possible if they don't do Imola, I think they're going to do a test at Jerez and then come in for the next round after that. So it'll be, yeah, it's going to be great to see them back. I can't wait.
Definitely, yes, fans' favourites, one would say. Yeah, and also in World Superbikes, how's Chaz Davis getting on? What's he up to? Is he been a bit quiet lately? I think he has.
Oh yeah, he's well over 100 points off his teammate Alvaro Bautista in the championship. We know he's had a horrible off season with a lot of injury, as Ed had said in a show a couple of weeks ago that he's pretty much rebuilding the whole top of his body again. So I think you jokingly called him the Terminator or something like that, Lester. So Chaz Davies did have a horrible injury towards the end of last season. Went off, had an operation. He's feeling, well, I'd say better. You've got to be if you're hustling one of these World Superbikes round.
Potentially.
But he's been so used to riding a V-twin Ducati that he's struggling to get his head round the V4 a little bit, while his teammate Alvaro Bautista has obviously ridden V4 Ducatis in MotoGP. So we're coming to a track that he has had a fantastic record over the years. I think his first win came back on the Bet, whatever it was called, or BMW back in 2013, I think it was, when he was Marco Melandri's teammate. Got the double. That was his first wins in World Superbikes. So he has a great record. He holds the most wins around the circuit with 7. And if he goes on to win this weekend, he will become the 4th rider in World Superbike history to win 8 or more races at a certain circuit. So I think that Foggy has 12. I think Ray has roughly the same. Or maybe Foggy has 11, Ray has 12. Tom Six has 9 at Donington. And yeah, he could have 8, maybe 9, maybe 10 wins. You never know. He might do the hat-trick this weekend at Motorland Aragon. So it'll be quite difficult for him. But if he doesn't win this weekend and his teammate Alvaro Bautista goes on to complete the hat-trick like he has done for the first 2 rounds this season, he will equal Neil Hodgson's win record at the start of the season with 9 race wins in a row at the start. So in Neil Hodgson's day, it was obviously 2 races a weekend. So it was the first 4 rounds and then the first race in round 5. I think it was Monza, that one. He didn't win the second race. It was his teammate Ruben Zaus. But if
show off
Bautista does, I have a better long-term memory than I do short-term memory when it comes to these things.
Is that why you always think things in the 80s and 90s were better? Because you remember them?
Maybe. Could be that. Or they could have just been better. So, yeah. Definitely the World Superbike racing at the end of the 90s and early 2000s was fantastic, incredible.
Yes, yeah. I remember the
back in my day.
In my day, not like it is today, of course. And let's hope it all gets back to where it used to be when I was young and sexy. Of course, those were the days.
What are you saying? I'm still young and sexy. I'm kidding on. Everyone's just going, okay, that's enough for me. I'm turning off now.
Yeah, and we now have no listeners. There we go. So what was we talking about now?
So yeah, Alvaro Bautista can equal Neil Hodgson's win record of 9 race wins at the start of the season. Also, if one of the Ducati riders, or any Ducati rider, that is also Ruben Rinaldi or Eugene Lavity, if they pick up wins this weekend, basically, if any Ducati wins all 3 races, they will score, get this, 350th race win in World Superbikes. So they're already on 347, so they could do 350th this weekend. So
would that include the qualifying race, which isn't a race but might be a race now because they changed it at the last round, but I'm not sure if they're even like fully committed to calling it a race? Yep,
that includes that. So it is now a race. So they call it a race. It's now in the history books as a race win. So it will include that. So good. Yeah, it's a lot of race wins for Ducati. They have been the top manufacturer for most of the history of World Superbikes, apart from the last few seasons when it has been Kawasaki and Jonathan Rea. So it's going to be a great weekend to see if Alvaro Bautista can continue his run record. If Jonathan Rea, I know he'll be super determined because he has won 3 times in the past 4 years at Motorland Aragon. It's only been him and Chaz Davies that have won the last 8 races since 2015. Chaz Davies has won 5 times. Jonathan Rea has won 3 times. So it's good. We know Jonathan Rea likes the circuit nearly as much as Chaz Davies. However, it's also another cool wee record between Ducati and Kawasaki. They have the most amount of wins at the circuit with 5 apiece. Kawasaki edges Ducati on podiums though. They've got 17 while Ducati has 13. So it's definitely a little bit of Ducati versus Kawasaki, Jonathan Rea versus Alvaro Bautista, and you never know, we might get the king of Motorland Aragon, Chaz Davies, thrown into the mix as well, which will be great for his season. It'll be confidence building, confidence inspiring, and Chaz Davies is a very popular rider, and we all want to see him just back up the front and battling out where he belongs.
Yeah, exactly. So, as you briefly mentioned, Bautista leading the championship by quite a bit of a margin, let's say, 124 points at the moment. Ray in second. Alex Lowe's doing brilliantly in third, but he will no doubt think that he could be second or even first. And he might even, well, he could He could. I don't want to say anything and jinx it, so I'll just say good luck, Alex, and the team. His teammate, incidentally, right behind him on 61 points. Then it's Melandri in 5th on 54 points. Leon Haslam still finding his feet in 6th place, and there's no shame to be there at this stage of the season. Cortese in 7th, Rinaldi in 8th, Razgatlioglu in 9th, and Tom Sykes in 10th place. Loads to play for still as we head into round 3.
Round 3, yes.
Yes, round 3 of the championship. And I'm forgetting where my calendar is. What is the calendar? Aragon, which, if I remember rightly, is former Superbike show presenter Kiko Giles' least favourite. Yeah.
You say most favourite or most least favourite? I
said Boo Earns, definitely. Anyway. So yeah,
the circuit got better after they took out the hairpin at the end of the back straight.
It got better once it took out all of the boring corners and scenery and fans and atmosphere, and it was all right as a blank sheet of paper.
You're just saying that's what happened to World Superbikes after the 90s. I'm kidding on.
That's what you said. That's definitely maybe if every round was sponsored by Bon Jovi.
Oh no, please don't tell everyone that I'm a fan of Bon Jovi. Is that what you're saying?
I never said you were a definite fan of Bon Jovi and listen to Bon Jovi.
I'm a super fan. I listen to Bon Jovi all the time. And that's more people just turn off going, oh, I was a Bon Jovi fan.
Well, it's still not anywhere as bad as Kiko and his 80s music. I can guarantee that. Even though it's kind of the same thing. But anyway, right. So back to the old racing then. So any other big amounts of stats that you've got for us under your hat?
Yeah, a couple of wee other ones. Kyle Smith returns to the Supersport grid this weekend, which is good to see him back. He didn't get a ride for the start of the season, but he's going to be with the TPR, Team Pericini Racing squad. So we get to see him back. And incidentally, this is the track that he scored his first ever World Supersport podium back in 2015 when he scored a 3rd place. So it's definitely a happy hunting ground for Kyle Smith, and we could maybe see him challenging for the podium once again, which would be fantastic to see. Kyle Smith is a very good rider. He's already won 3 races within the class, so it's great to see him back in a grid, in a paddock that he belongs in. We've also got the Supersport 300 class starting this weekend.
Oh, I thought that died.
Yeah. Sorry?
I thought that was like totally collapsed. Or was it European 300?
Yeah, it was a European Super Stock class, but no, the European Supersport 300 class, which we have returning champion Anna Carrasco defending defending her crown this year. So we'll see how she does. But we've also got, was it 50 riders that will be trying to qualify this weekend?
I remember.
Yeah, so 50 riders have entered for this weekend's, and I think most of the season's championship. So I think it's about 32 will automatically qualify, and there'll be like a Q1, Q2 type scenario. Then the sort of bottom 18 or so will go into a race. Ed Hocknell is the one that's up to date with all of this. So whatever it is,
if we're wrong about anything, we'll just blame Ed, basically. So
yeah, Ed, come on.
But we were having a discussion on the way back from Wales about ways to improve Formula One, for example. Other championships are available that were better in the 90s. But one of the suggestions that I think I came up with would be to have effectively what the Supersport 300 are doing at the moment, which is effectively kind of like having a pre-qualifying session.
Yeah. Basically, that's what my idea was, a reverse championship grid start on Saturday, which would just see the Mercedes at the back, which would be great. But moving away from Formula One, because that's not why we're here. Absolutely. It's going to be madness doing a pre-qualifying, which is great because it just shows how healthy the championship is. And you've got lots of young riders that possibly don't have the funding to make it into the Grand Prix paddock in Moto3. So for much cheaper bikes, they get to come to the Supersport 300 class, which in its second season was getting a lot of media attention. Not obviously because of what happened in the championship, but obviously because of the racing was just intense. It was brilliant. And then
I just remember Anna Carrasco. I'm, totally impartial.
Yeah, Anna Carrasco winning the championship was absolutely fantastic. The first female rider to win a world championship in any motorbike racing.
Well, so, on an individual championship, I think there might have been one who won on a sidecar or something like that.
You might be right. I think you're right, actually. There was possibly one a while ago.
I'm right.
But we could be wrong. So that's why the comments help to tell us how wrong we are. But it's going to be a great championship this year. There's lots of talented young riders. And this is their proving ground for them, either trying to get the attention of some of the bigger teams in the World Superbike paddock, or maybe even the attention of some of the Grand Prix teams to maybe go over to Moto3 at the end of the season. It produces great racing just like Moto3 does, so I am really looking forward to it. And I'm really looking forward to the sort of pre-qualifying race that has the sort of the bottom...
It's a shootout, effectively, to get into qualifying, isn't it?
And all the riders will be very hungry to make it through, so you can definitely imagine there'll be some last lap lunges and a lot of tears to be had if someone gets wiped out, and that means they lose out on actually going into the race on Sunday.
So is it an actual pre-quali race session, or is it just like a timed session, or is it like, because if it's a proper race, then I can see that getting very messy, and that's something that I definitely want to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a proper race, so it will get a little bit messy. It's especially with all those young kids, and there's a lot riding on them. I think it's scoring a podium position. I think it's the top 3 go through. So, or maybe it's, once again, Ed Hocknell is the man for this job when it comes to that one. So it's going to be fantastic racing. And by the end of the weekend, we will know how it all works, because I remember looking into it and Ed was telling me about it. I was like, I think I understand this.
I was quite confused when he was explaining it, I think, but only because it's I'm going to call it unique in modern racing. Yeah,
it is. You don't really see any of this sort of pre-qualifying stuff at the moment.
I can definitely imagine it happening in the 90s.
Yeah, the 90s and the 80s, you'd sort of get a lot of that, because you just don't want any riders that aren't capable of running safe lap times starting on a grid full of lots of fast riders and Formula 1's case drivers. Yes, 10 Carter now back, but a few comments about how sparse maybe the World Superbike grid was starting to become. And I think I might have made a comment to this effect at the time when Ed was going through and saying that there was going to be like 100 riders trying to qualify, or something like that. But would World Superbikes, would that format, if it works this weekend, presuming it will work, and I have every confidence in Dorna to make it work, but would it potentially work in World Superbikes? Could you maybe get 30 or 40 riders having a go to try and pre-qualify into the actual weekend? Would that be a thing? That's an interesting point, because as I said when we were talking about this a few weeks ago, not only is the Supersport 300 class going to be a proving ground for young riders, but also young teams as well. If they show themselves to be very capable of building up a team, being successful, then they can move up to the Supersport class, or maybe even the Superbike class. And if we get that opening up, then we could have lots more teams trying to move into the Superbike class. And if they want a minimum grid, like in MotoGP, they want a minimum grid or max grid of 24 riders, then maybe we can have that in World Superbikes, where we'll have a max grid of 24, but 30 riders try and qualify for the event as well. So we never know.
Yeah, I suppose we will just have to see how it all plays out, and maybe I can have a word with Kiko just to put pressure on the World Superbike. Oh God, yeah, he's going through his agenda of things that need to be improved at Dorna, and I hear that they've all been unanimously rejected, including putting elephants on the start grid and pizza ovens in pit lane. Which is that was a genuine suggestion by Kiko.
Was that
albeit sort of light-hearted, but it wasn't really. But anyway, Charlie Andrews has been on. Hi, Charlie. Good evening. She says, "Evening, lads. I had a random thought the other day. No. If you could make a Netflix documentary about bike racing, just like the popular F1 program on Netflix, which series/team/riders would you choose to follow this year?" That, Charlie, is a good question.
That's a good question, indeed.
Yeah.
Obviously, the obvious choice is to go for MotoGP, but then again, there's British Superbikes. When they release season reviews, when I used to buy them, I forget now to buy them, but they would always release a disc or a couple of discs separately from the championship review, which would be a documentary of the season, and it was
the scenes look.
Yeah, it was brilliant to watch, because obviously you see all the top riders and what they go through and what happens to the weekends, but you've obviously got the riders that are less funded and the struggles they go through. So it's British Superbikes is a good one, but obviously the Formula One documentary set a precedent of, we want to see what it's really like behind the curtain of something that we don't really get to see normally. Like, for example, Formula One is a very shut out sport.
It's very corporate, and everything's super PR manicured, so like within an inch of its life almost. So and it that sort of thing erases personalities, because everyone's fearful of saying the wrong thing, which could affect a multi-million-pound deal, and then they feel bad because it's millions of pounds involved, etc. So yeah, it's unique to go behind the scenes and see such things. I've not even seen the documentary yet, but I hear I hear it's really good.
I went into watching it with an open mind. I didn't think it'd be that great. I thought it would just be the corporate stuff. But to be honest, you see the human nature of Formula One, and you get some brilliant characters in it, like Daniel Ricciardo, obviously, Nico Hülkenberg, Haas, F1 team boss, I wouldn't say boss, but team manager, Günther Steiner. So, yeah, I would say MotoGP, for the fact that you get to see behind the scenes of Marc Marquez, Valentino Rossi. If there was could you imagine? I mean, I don't want to bring it up. 2015 in Malaysia, and just seeing the fallout from that.
Yeah, I mean, if it was this season, because I think Charlie asked about this season, of course, everyone wants to know what's really going on between Marquez and his teammate.
Yeah, I'm just going into the sort of Alberto Puig marriage counselling that we sort of deemed that as a few weeks ago would be really interesting if something were to happen on track between Lorenzo and Marquez.
I'm imagining it's something along the lines of like what Hamilton and Rosberg had to go through, two top sportsmen at the top of their field, at the top of their sport, at the top of the world, racing, and falling out very publicly. And that, I think, are we all waiting for that to happen? I think we are, aren't we?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely.
Yeah.
We're waiting with anticipation.
Yeah, so don't disappoint.
But yeah, they probably will disappoint. They probably won't actually clash on track, and they'll be happy-go-lucky and all smiling faces, and we'll probably just have Marquez dominate while Lorenzo gets up to speed on the Honda. Maybe in 2020 we'll more likely see it, but maybe not this year, which will be a bit of a shame. So I would like to see BT Sport tend to have documentaries of, for example, Lorenzo winning the 2015 championship, following Marquez throughout the season when he won his championship. So you see behind the scenes of quite a lot of the riders as they go towards the championship. So that's quite interesting, but having a more broad spectrum of it would be really good to see. And of course, watching the people in Moto2 and Moto3 come through the field as well, because...
Oh, I would really love to know what happened behind the scenes last year with Fanati.
Yeah, I mean, that would be incredible.
I think we know anyway, because it was so public. But those discussions that happened... that would be a good idea. And thank you for the suggestion. Incidentally, Charlie, since you asked the question, I'm going to throw it back onto you. Which championship, team or rider or whatever would you choose to follow this year? Yeah, you let us know. But Chris Howells suggested something that you mentioned earlier. But they did a similar thing, whoever they are, with the Foggy Petronas team when they started up. He still has the DVD, he says.
I can go one better. I've still got the VHS tape somewhere at my parents'.
When in Scotland?
So, yeah, we've just discovered what DVDs are up here. Oh. So no, that was a great behind the scenes documentary of Carl Fogarty starting up the Foggy Petronas racing team, which unfortunately no longer exists. It was a very cool to see it come from the planning stage to what would actually go into making the bike, and then the bike being born. So yeah, something like that would be really interesting.
Okay, and Charlie's been back on, incidentally. You're more than welcome to come on the actual show yourself, Charlie. But, I suppose she's just enjoying watching us talk rubbish, I suppose. Yeah. But yeah, she's been back on, and she suggests Scott Redding settling into BSB. That's her choice, and that's a good choice, actually. I would like to see behind the scenes of that. I'm just imagining clashes of ego and personality and everything going on, as well as the usual shenanigans that probably goes on behind those team doors anyway.
Pretty interesting to see how him and Josh Brooks get on behind the scenes.
Yeah, maybe.
I think that'll be quite an interesting one to see.
Yeah, certainly. I'm not suggesting that Scott has an ego. It's far from it, but that's probably just me wishing, like, envisioning the sort of juicy sort of documentary that I would like to see myself. But yeah, Jay King been back on, and hello Jay. He says Scott with the Ducati team, same thing, just to see how he gets on in BSB. That would be a good watch, and I think yeah, most people agree that definitely would be a good watch, unless it really turns out to be boring and he suddenly turns super corporate, and he won't though, really. And,
no, he won't.
No, and he doesn't like fall out with anyone. He doesn't slag teams off or anything, and he does a solid job, just getting regular podiums, doesn't do anything remarkable. But we know that's not going to happen. But yeah, we are chasing Scott for an interview on this show. So
come on, Scott, let us know what goes on behind the scenes.
Sort yourself out. Yeah. Any other suggestions regarding Charlie's question with regards to which particular driver or rider or any sport or team or championship would you like to see a behind the scenes documentary of?
Andrea Iannone. That would be a good one.
To be honest, I think the behind-the-scenes stuff, I mean, he puts so much out on Instagram anyway, that probably too much, to be honest, that we don't need to imagine what goes on behind the scenes. I mean, we've seen him on Instagram literally in bed with strange men, because I don't know who they are.
I've not seen this on Instagram. I don't follow Andrea Iannone.
No,
probably for his bombardment of pictures on Instagram.
Well, being the diligent journalist that I am, and you know, compiling a list of factual information that goes into this show. It's not just, you know, thrown together, you know. Then yeah, we have a yeah. Anyway, check it out if you're yeah, got a good jawline and a good nose.
I feel like he does have a very good jawline, as my brother found out at Valencia last year. I don't know where I was going with that one, but he just got up. He just got up close with him and got a picture with him. That's all I was suggesting and saying. Yeah, I realised as I started saying it, it sounded a bit more wrong than it meant to be.
I think I want to see this picture now, to be honest.
I think everyone just sat forward and going, "Where's this going?"
Is it? Oh, yeah. Especially
gossip.
Anyway. Chris Howell's back in touch again. Hello, Chris. I'm amazed you're still watching or tuned in, to be honest. He suggests, again, Josh Brooks teaching Scott Redding how to culture the bum fluff on his chin. I don't quite get that exactly, but that's what Chris says anyway. That maybe there's going to be a bit of argy-bargy and internal politics there. I can almost guarantee that, I think.
I mean, the championship could turn into a close shave. I'm sorry. We'll move on. Well, shall we?
So what we were talking about World Superbikes anyway, and World Supersport. So I think we're done with that.
One last wee thing on the World Supersports. The Northern Ireland circuit, Lake Torrance, their 2.2 mile circuit has been put up for sale after planning issues. So that was supposed to come on the calendar this year, but it was put back because of planning issues, and it's now up for sale from administrators. So yeah, it's another circuit in Britain that has, well, it looks like it's now going down the drain, unfortunately.
I'm trying to remember what the last new racetrack in the UK was. Was it Rockingham in 2000?
Yeah, that's a good shout, Rockingham. Yeah, because that was built for the IndyCars, and I think they only used it once, didn't they? And then turned into BSB track and British Touring Car track, and it was never that great.
Was it Rockingham? Answers on a postcard, folks. I don't mean kart circuits, because there might have been a couple of new ones of those, but actual race tracks, proper, full-on, full-sized, however international, but a proper racetrack designed for big cars or big bikes, that sort of thing. When was the last one? And I think it was 2000, and I think it was Rockingham. That's
a really good question, that one. I would like to know what that is.
Yeah.
I think you're probably right. I think it is Rockingham. It's quite a shame because you've got lots of these countries around the world opening up new racetracks and they're world class. And I'm not saying that a lot of the circuits we have already aren't world class. We've already got Silverstone.
Would you like a shovel?
Yes, I'm probably a digger now. But Silverstone's world class. Saying that, obviously there was problems last year. Donington is world class as well. Brands Hatch is still world class in a lot of the ways, but we just don't have that big infrastructural track, the new one that I think a lot of people are screaming out for.
But where would you put it? I mean, there's a number of questions that I could ask, and we could probably fill 2 full hours on it, to be honest.
Well, I mean,
like, where would you put it? Where would it be? And why it's not already happened? Because people don't like new things, i.e., like Formula E. When we tried that in London, everyone complained it was a bit too, I don't know.
We just don't like motor racing in the UK, apparently. A lot of these countries, the government do invest money into bringing motorsport to the country because it's good for tourism. But in the UK, obviously we've got more things to worry about at the moment. But we've never done that. We don't really invest the money into motorsport. It's just something we haven't done, and I don't think we'll do for a long, long time. We've already tried Ireland. We've already tried Wales. Try England, but you can come up to Scotland. Try Scotland.
Nah.
Come on.
Nah, you're all right. The one circuit's enough.
Knockhill's a great circuit. Everyone should come to Knockhill.
No, to be honest, I don't think anyone seriously thought that a Northern Ireland track was going to happen. I think obviously they just got a bit overexcited because the country was getting a bit of money from central government, yada yada, and they just thought, well, what can we spend it on to look all new and all, haha, look at us sort of thing. Let's build some like gold statues. No, why don't we build a racetrack for no apparent reason, considering that there hasn't been one in nearly 2 decades in this country.
Well, they've got Mondello Park over in Ireland, so...
Well, yeah, but, I mean, anyway, I fear that we're going to stray dangerously into politics territory, which is, I should have some sort of kind of an alarm thing here. But yeah, no new Northern Ireland circuit, Lake Torrent, which is a huge shock, said nobody.
Yeah, true.
The official reason was planning issues, as in, we have an issue. We don't want to build this. It's too much money, and we want that money for ourselves.
I think there was quite an interesting quote that came from the administrators. They said, we'll put this up for sale for anyone that would like a racing circuit or to build a sort of already pre-existing kind of half-built racing circuit. I thought, well, that's a great selling point. I need to find that quote again. It was quite comical when I read it. Yeah. I'll get it for next week's show.
I know what you mean. They didn't. I don't think they quite. Mind you, I don't know. I've not seen latest pictures, but I don't think they got into the same state as when Donington tried it 10 years ago when they bid for F1 and won the contract. But they did have a World Superbike contract, I think, according to my source, at Dawn.
Yes, they did, and British Superbikes were going there as well. So yeah, it was supposed to be on the World Superbike calendar this year. Yeah, but obviously, for reasons we know now, it wasn't, and it won't ever be, most likely.
I suspect that maybe MotoGP, I mean, it was World Superbikes, I know, but I suspect MotoGP will move away from Silverstone, stay in Britain.
Well, yeah, Donington Park's Jonathan Palmer has leased Donington for a number of years, and he's definitely doing a lot of work to bring it up to scratch for MotoGP. So I reckon we could see the last race this year, which I think the contract runs out this year or next year. But whenever it does, I think we'll see it go to Donington Park after that.
I do too, and MSV did actually win a Motorsport Award for Best Investment in 2018 for their upgrades and lease of Donington Park estate or whatever it was. They don't quite own it outright, but they have, like you say, an extremely long lease on it, and they've built a new grandstand and put new toilets in and made a lot of things new, and they made new access roads, a new entrance as well, lots of new things for fans to make their overall experience at Donington, not that it wasn't good before, but to improve it a bit more, and that is why they MSV did win a Motorsport Award in 2018.
And there's nothing better than new toilets.
Exactly.
At racing circuit.
Clean toilets.
They're important.
And of course the new cafe that they've got. Well, they're converted from the cafe. Was it Cafe 66 or 60, 61? I forgot what it was called. But the new cafe.
I've not been to Donington since 2004, so I can't remember what it was like back then.
Fair enough. It's changed a lot, I believe. But it's not as good as what it was in the 90s, though. But nothing is.
Yep, the racing in the 90s. That's always good.
Right, this is the Superbike show, and I've just realised that we've been waffling on quite a lot already. So we will progress quickly to talk about some CEV, and next, BSB.
The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.
Hey everyone, Bradley Smith.
Hi guys, I'm Danny Buchan.
I am Tom Sykes.
This is Motorsport Radio.
Certainly is, and you can still get in touch with us as we are still live, incredibly, on Motorsport Radio. Hello and welcome. If this is your first ever experience of Motorsport Radio, then we talk usually about motorsports, sometimes live, and we also have some live race coverage occasionally, like the Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship that we had at the weekend. It was round one in South Wales at Llandow, sorry.
We've got to say it right.
Exactly, the local shatters. So yeah, it was round one at the weekend, and there was loads of exciting action, loads of great racing, and we covered it all exclusively live on Motorsport Radio and on Cool Fab Racing as well. So yeah, we'll have round two in a few weeks' time. And yeah, this is what we do mostly. It's just talking about motorsport, not exclusively bikes. We do talk about everything big that happened in the car racing world on Monday Motorsport, which returns on Monday at 8 p.m. So yeah, that's what we'll be doing on Monday. And if you'd like to be part of the team, maybe if you're interested in writing on our website, scribbling some words, maybe, get in touch.
Well, you'll definitely do a better job than I do.
I think you do.
Not hard.
I think you do it better than me anyway, and I never write anything, really, unless they're I can write.
That's why I'm better, because you don't write anything.
Well, I can do really crass sort of tabloidy headlines anyway. But yeah, get in touch with us is what we're saying, especially if you think you have what it takes to be on the team and show your stuff to many tens of thousands of people who are tuned in on a regular basis. So it's still the Superbike show, and we will quickly move on because we've been talking for 2 hours almost on all that crap, basically. So BSB is where it's at, and yeah, they are going to be testing again next week.
Yeah, this Sunday, actually, the 9th of April, it starts, which is... No, that's a lie. Tuesday, isn't it? The 9th? Yeah, okay. Tuesday is the 9th. 7th is Sunday. Yeah, 7th is Sunday, 9th is Tuesday. So it's the 9th of April.
I would have just said soon, to be honest.
Yeah, it's quite soon. But the good thing is, it's the first British test and final test before the season starts.
Yes.
And if you want to get along to it, it's going to be open to spectators and it's free. So you can go down and watch some...
A PSB event for free? I won't hear of it.
Hey, so you get to go see the likes of Scott Redding, Josh Brooks, Brad Ray, Josh Elliott, Glenn Irwin, or the Irwin brothers test their bikes, their new machines for 2019 before the start of the season. And it's done in Silverstone, so fingers crossed it'll be a nice sunny day and you'll get to see some fantastic BSB action. The season starts in 2 weeks at Silverstone, so it's just 2 weeks before the start of the season, which is looking to be a great 2019. We had a great 2018, we're looking to have an even better 2019. There isn't too much BSB news this week. Everyone's just sort of staying quiet before the start of testing next week and before the start of the season, but Josh Brooks has said that he feels coming into the test next week, he feels he wasn't that satisfied with the feel of the bike after Portimao, but he did say that there was a massive improvement from Monte Blanco to Portimao. So Portimao before
Portugal.
Yeah, we'll say Portugal, the Algarve. So we'll get there somehow. But he did say there was a massive improvement on the bike from Monte Blanco to Portimao, and that he will continue to improve in Silverstone, which is a completely different circuit to both of them, and it's in a completely different country. So it's obviously going to see how the climate is going to be different towards what we had in Spain and Portugal. Colder. Over here in the UK. It'll be a lot colder, absolutely. But it might suit him a lot more. And the Ducati V4. So his teammate Scott Redding's been looking quite good throughout testing. And I think that just a couple of % from Josh Brooks here and there, and he'll be up to scratch and start ready for the season as well. So, yeah, it's looking quite good for both of the BYs or PBM racing Ducatis at the moment. So that's actually all the BSB news that there is this week. Yeah, there's not too much at all.
Don't forget, of course, because also rookie Ryan Vickers moving into BSB, as says Roger Ingram. Hello, good evening, Roger, who's a regular listener to the show. And he makes a good point. There are lots of rookies, well, a few anyway, certainly in BSB this year. And Ryan Vickers will be one of the people, I think, maybe unfairly has a bit too much pressure and attention, expectation, let's say.
It's a bit like Chan on Chu in Moto 3. He's a very young rider. He's moved up to to BSB. To be fair to him, he done really well in testing. So we could expect good things this year, but don't want to put any pressure on him. We'll just let him get around his job and see what he can do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to put any pressure or expectation on Ryan in his first BSB season, first BSB outing. Yes, he did great last year to win, almost dominate the championship. Well, he did dominate the championship.
Yeah, I think he won nearly every single race.
And but that, we're just going to say best of luck to Ryan and the team as well. So without any expectation or preconception of like how well he might do. If he does well, I'm not going to say it will be a nice surprise, but do you know what I mean? I'm just trying to like wish him the best without putting any pressure on him. So.
Putting any bad omens on him.
Yeah, so, and I know his dad usually sometimes tunes into the show, so hello, the Vickers family as well. So, yes, all the best. And you're right, yeah, there's not that much big... as I say that, I mean, I've not been completely abreast of all the sort of BSB news, although judging by the BSB fans Facebook group as well, which I urge everyone to go and join if you're not already. It's now 17,000+ strong, and it is, I think, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, BSB fans group in the world. So check that out, and it's always a great source of gossip, and it's pretty well run, if I say so myself.
I wonder why that is.
Don't know.
I wonder why you're saying that.
Yeah, but yeah, just having a quick look. The latest conversational topics, as I think we mentioned earlier, regarding Dixon. Why did he leave and go to Moto2? We've already talked a bit about that. Also, just scanning through a couple of posts regarding 15-year-old Harrison Beach, who's doing pretty well. I think at a recent round of where was that? Thunder British Supersport 300. He is going to be contesting that this year. So, yeah, certainly. And also, as well, for anyone running a race team at any sort of level, whether grassroots club level or even in BSB, or even if any fans just want a bit of a roof over their head, XL Moto have a brilliant offer right now for a tent. It doesn't have to be a team tent, but that's what they're calling it. £59 for basically a race awning, which is not bad. Check it out.
Very good.
On the BSB link on the BSB and support fans Facebook group. Yeah, so £59. Thought I'd just mention that. Because I mentioned it on there. And it's generally a great place. And as you say, there's not that much big news that's really dropped. because probably, everybody is just waiting, just chilling out, maybe getting a few extra days off just before it kind of all kicks off at Silverstone, and there will be lots of stories. So, confirm then, this BSB event at Silverstone is definitely free. Can I take the whole family?
Yeah, you can take the whole family. It's definitely free. So if you turn up on the day, you can just walk in and enjoy some British Superbike action.
Interesting. Okay, and it won't cost me hundreds of pounds.
No, it tends to be the case with testing. Even in MotoGP, it's just free. So they don't charge anyone to go in and watch it. So I remember at the end of season at Valencia last year, I was going to go to the circuit, but I decided not to because it was a bit wet for testing.
Say hungover.
No, I wasn't hungover. Well, maybe I was. Can't remember anymore. But it was wet, so I decided not to go. But it was free for spectators, which most championships tend to do.
Okay.
Apart from Formula One.
So check BSB out. I'm not making any comment. And there you go. Even if you can't make every round, if maybe you're in the area during the week, I think it is a Tuesday. You might be right. Second time.
Yeah, it's definitely the 9th. So okay. I think that's Tuesday.
So if you're in the area, check it out. It's you'll get to have a great chance to take some pictures of future BSB champs and stars, and maybe some GP riders as well. Future talent is where it's at Silverstone this weekend. Well,
absolutely.
This weekend. No, next Tuesday. Anyway. Onto some CEV very quickly, and that's kicking off, and a lot of names to watch out for.
Absolutely, the CEV Championship, which is the Spanish version. It's not really a Spanish version anymore, but it's the Junior World Championship for Moto3. It's where all the future talent is scouted out and they race against each other before they potentially move up to Moto3. So the season's kicking off this weekend in Portugal at the Estoril circuit, and it's an 8-round calendar starting off this weekend, as I said, but it's going to come to an end at the 10th of November at Valencia at the Ricardo Tormo circuit, which is a week after, I believe, the MotoGP round. They always tend to run it a week after the MotoGP's been there. So it's going to be Moto2, Moto3, and the European Talent Cup. So the European Talent Cup just tends to run standard Honda bikes. So it's always really good action for all three classes. They're world-class riders, lots of young stars of the future coming through there. So last season, we had the likes of Sergio Garcia, Ayogura, Celestino Vietti, and Chanon Chu.
Oh, yeah.
And those guys, all in the class. But they've all moved up to the Moto3 World Championship. So this year we're going to see Chanon Chu's older twin brother, but shorter, and got shorter hair as well. Dennis Onchu.
Yeah, definitely not bitter about Chan's success.
No, so, but you never know. Maybe in the future he might get into the World Championship and prove us all wrong. He might be the better Onchu twin. But saying that, Dennis Onchu finished second in the Red Bull Rookies behind his younger twin, Chan Onchu, and they were both contesting the Junior World Championship last season. Dennis Onchu is continuing to do that with the Red Bull IO squad, which he was part of last year. Alex Viu and Yuki Kuni, Jeremy Alcoba, and 2018 European Talent Cup champion Xavier Artigas will be looking to be the favourites of this season in the Moto3 Junior World Championship. So it produces fantastic racing every single year, close racing, a bit like Moto3 in the World Championship. So definitely watch out for those names as well. And of course, some others that I've actually not told you about. Coming over to the Moto2 class with Xavier Cardelus, Dimas Eke, and Somkiat Chantra, and Augusto Fernandez, Lucas Tulovic, who, as we know earlier on, had a bit of a running in with Jake Dixon in Moto2 this weekend, all moved up to the Moto2 class, the World Championship, and it sees probably Edgar Pons, who won the championship in 2015 and was runner-up last season, as the potential championship favourite in the Moto2 class in the CEV Championship. But he's definitely going to have a bit of competition from the likes of Hector Garzo, Jeremy Salim, and Alex Ruiz. So check out them. They're going to be fantastic to watch this season. And once again, there could be stars of the future that possibly go straight into Moto2, as Edgar Pons did a few seasons ago, as Luca Marini did. He went straight into Moto2 a couple of years ago. We've had, as I said earlier on, Cardo Lewis, Eke, Chantra, Augusto Fernandez, who is running with the Cito Pons team in the Moto2 class. As I say that, he did have a crash at the weekend, and potentially we're hearing some rumours that maybe Mattia Piscini might be replacing him for Kota. I just thought I'd throw that in there, just in case you hadn't heard. So there's a
news to me.
I've seen it on Twitter earlier on with GP1, the Italian website, reporting it. So they're very, very good at getting their sources right. Coming over to the British riders, Max Cook, who was in the British Talent Cup last season, will be making his CEV Championship debut with the British Talent Team in 2019. So he's been out in Spain already, testing the bikes, doing a lot of training up in the mountains in Spain. So working hard, and he's looking like he could be brilliant this season. Don't want to put any pressure on him, but definitely worth a name to keep an eye on, as we saw in the British Talent Cup last season. And he'll be running bike number 30 this year in the CV. So check out in the Moto3 class for Max Cook. Sam Wilford is going to be contesting the Moto2 Championship on bike number 3 with the Edway Racing Squad. I think I might have got that right. Fingers crossed I did. And the European Talent Cup will see 3 Brits in it, with Jack Hart on bike number 20 in the Wilson Racing Team. Fenton Seabright will be running number 47, and Josh Watley will be running bike number 70 in the KRP team. So a lot of Brits over there in the Junior World Championship, the CEV as well, and a lot of great talent to watch out for. And it's going to be kicking off with the European Talent Cup Race 1 at 11 o'clock local time, which means 10 a.m. over here in the UK, and the action will be ending with the European Talent Cup once again, race number 2 at 3 p.m. UK time. So check that out, with obviously the Moto2 and the Moto3 in between. So it's a championship I absolutely love, and it's worth a watch if you're into your bike racing, or if you've never checked it out before, make sure you check it out now, because as the years progress, the racing gets better, and there's a lot of names that you might not have heard of, but you will definitely hear of in the future.
Yeah, definitely, and it's something that I trust you, Liam, to keep an eye on as the season progresses, especially with the Brits racing over there, like Max Cook and Jack Hart, Fenton Seabright, and Josh Watley, just to name a few, and especially if others come in mid-season or whatever. So that's your job for the year, if nothing else, just to keep an eye on how the future, current talent stars are getting on over there in that CEV. And
yeah, absolutely.
As a side note, by the way, I believe if anyone is a fan of tuning in to live CEV action, they will be treated, and I use that term loosely, to commentary at some points by Kiko Giles at I don't know which particular rounds that he'll be commentating on exactly, but he did get in touch recently and said that he was delighted to be able to. I don't even know if I should have announced that, to be honest, but apparently I just did.
One of his bosses have watched this and going, Kiko?
Yeah, just spat
something you would like to say?
But that's what he tells me anyway, so yeah.
Lucky boy.
Yeah, I don't think it was a world industry secret, but
yeah, but it's good. It's going to be good to hear him, so he fully deserved it.
Exactly, yes, and he was tuned in at the weekend, listening to you, Liam, and also me, commentating on the first round at Clandau for Cool Fab Racing, which is on the road to MotoGP. It is official, and it remains the official BSB Partner Series for 2019. Cool Fab Racing Championship action happening at the weekend, and we'll talk about it right now.
This is the 2019 Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship.
Yeah, lots of, as we're saying, lots of amazing action going on at the weekend. Cool Fab Racing in action, and Liam, myself, and Chris McCarthy were, and also fellow rider Blake Ansell, also one of the commentators for this season, taking over from Kiko Giles and Dan Marr from last year, who gone on to do other things like CEV and World Superbikes. Forgot what it was called then. But yeah, so lots of potential interesting stuff that happened at the weekend. And so Liam, it was your first time it was your commentary debut at the weekend. How was it for you?
It was a fantastic weekend. I went into it with an open mind, and I was treated to amazing racing action. It was a bit scary at times, obviously a commentary debut, but at the same time, with the race action out on track, it was great to forget that it was my debut in the commentary box. So the racing, as I was saying, was fantastic. A lot of hard moves throughout every single series, but thankfully, it was quite clean as well. And the kids, the dads that were racing in one of the categories put on a fantastic show for not only the rest of the kids and the parents, but also the spectators that were there as well, watching from across the road. So definitely fully enjoyed my weekend. There was a lot of names that I would be keeping an eye out on for the future. Some quick kids out there as well.
Certainly was. There was. We're just having a quick look through some of the highlights, and including some senior mini motos, because I'm going to guess that most viewers don't actually tune in to most of the things. I think like a lot of people, they're just casual viewers, and they maybe catch a bit of MotoGP and find all the gossip there. And for the grassroots and future stars, that racing, for example, Cool Fab Racing, they might occasionally miss some of the action, which is unforgivable. But still, that's why we're here to sort of recap and remind you as to just how great the championships really are. Because yes, they are mini bikes, and no, you should not dismiss them as just being mini bikes, especially when you see the tall, rather disproportioned adults on mini bikes, because they sometimes do provide the most action and the most entertainment. Is that the right diplomatic word for it? Yeah, entertainment. But yeah, lots of hard, fast racing, and these youngsters. I mean, adults aside, the actual youngsters are definitely shaping up to be BSB champions, World Superbike talents. I mean, for example, Danny Kent raced in the Cool Fab Racing and won a world championship. And
yeah, absolutely.
Scott Redding as well also learned how to race and how to ride. He basically learned almost everything he knows about racing from Cool Fab Racing. Brad Ray, of course, he may win the BSB this year. I mean, he will be racing I'm told at some point again this year in Cool Fab, but just for fun, to be honest. And so many other. I think Ryan Vickers has been involved as well. He sort of dips his toe, probably less so now he's in BSB, but still, it is one of the best paddocks to be in. The atmosphere is just so different, completely different, totally friendly to anywhere else. Is that what you found? Absolutely, it was a fantastic paddock to be part of. As you said, friendly is a bit of an understatement. Everyone was just super nice all weekend. Everyone said hello to you. Now, obviously, I've never been in this paddock before, so I'm just walking past people and they're going, "Hello, how you doing?" I'm just like, I'm good. This is quite nice. So, yeah, I had a lot of fun at the weekend. It's a great atmosphere. The racing, as I said already, has been brilliant, and yeah, watch out for a lot of the names that are coming through the series. Yeah, to name a few, I mean, I'm looking at a few pictures, mostly of the Mini GP70 class, which is the premier class of Cool Fab Racing. Also, the Mini GP50s, which is the class just below. But leading the championship, names riders who had an absolutely scintillating weekend. For example, Eddie O'Shea winning all three races in the top class at Cool Fab Racing, and he, if anyone, would be a name to watch. So keep an eye out for that name, Eddie O'Shea.
Well, he's actually one of the names. He's actually the first name that I wrote down over the weekend for a one to watch in the future. So Eddie O'Shea was absolutely dominant all weekend, and yeah, he was in a class of his own pretty much, and it was. For racing sense, it wasn't great for the other riders, but at the same time, it was just a masterclass in performance of how to ride the Clandow racing circuit.
Well, although you say that, but it is sometimes good just to have a dominant performance, and because it gives you a benchmark. I mean, if you're one of the riders who thinks they do well there, and you know they're coming into the first round of the season, not everyone knows exactly how well they do, but you think you've got a good chance of doing pretty good. And then someone like Eddie O'Shea comes along and just blows everybody out of the water, and you think, oh my God, I thought I was like going to be up there, but I was only like 5th or whatever. It is good to have, to sort of have other people bring you down a peg, really. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it's quite good in the sense that Eddie O'Shea has set a good benchmark so early on in the season that it gives the other riders that sort of sense of, we really need to get our head down and have something to aim at. So it sort of prepares you very well for the rest of your racing career.
Exactly. Another name to watch as well, and someone who has not at all really. I suppose a lot of the attention has been on his brother Max Cook, but James Cook, who was racing at the weekend in the Mini GP70s, lying second at the moment in the championship, just ahead of Ryan Hitchcock, who himself had a few decent performances. Now, there's 3 races. Those who don't know, there are 3 races in every round. There's race 1 on the Saturday, race 2 and 3 happens on the Sunday. But so every category, and there's 9 categories in total. Every rider, in theory, gets 3 races. If some riders even compete in multiple categories as well, so maybe they get 6 races in total. They're very busy, as did Blake Hansel attempt to do it as well, and commentate in between then. I think he was quite stressed by the end of the weekend.
It wasn't just that, he also had a bike to fix on the Sunday because his bike broke down. So
bike issues, and I think the last thing you want to do if you've got a bike issue and compete in 6 races is come up to the commentary box and start waffling, because we're inevitably going to say, so what happened to you and your bike? And you just don't want to go there. So yeah, but I'm told that Blake will be back as well at some point. So other big names to watch out for as well. Saffron Watley, she is Josh Watley's sister. She is improving quite a lot year on year, I would say. Also, Emmanuel Brenton, Bailey Stewart-Campbell, Mason Johnson, Johnny Garness, Owen Mellor. All these riders, Ollie Walker, Dylan Mellor as well, just to name a few. Apologies if I didn't read your name out. Not personal, just... we could name every single child, but
we'll read your name out after the next round.
Yeah, probably that.
We'll try and get through everyone.
We'll try something like that. But the names, to just name a few anyway, of people who you might expect to see potentially, and already some riders are doing some BSB categories as well and competing in Cool Fab, like. I think Josh Watley was scheduled to do some round. I'm not exactly sure in what he is doing this year, but Charlie Nesbitt was there, and many people already knowing the name Charlie Nesbitt, and he was there at Landau, kind of just having a bit of fun and obliterating the entire field, to be honest, and doing some stunts as well during the race. So
I think he was having more fun with doing stunts than he actually was racing, which was a bit comical to watch at times. I think what you caught him doing the plank down the back straight towards the final turn, Lester.
Couple of times, yes. So if maybe the next time he does that, I think we'll try and put a camera on him or something just to not see him. Yeah,
we've not seen him do a Marc Marquez yet and doing a floss as he crosses the line, so maybe that'll be his next party trick.
A couple of people, I think, doing a dab. I think Jay King was trying to dab over the line.
He done that at one point. It was after he came out 3rd in his battle. So he done a wee dab across the line. Pretty pleased with his result.
And the next round is in 3 weeks' time, at the end of April anyway, and it is down at Red Lodge Kart Circuit. So if you're in the area, which is near Cambridge, just outside of Cambridge, I think. I don't mean to offend Red Lodge if you don't like Cambridge, but whatever. It's near there. If you're looking on a Google map, that's the next round. It's round 2 of 8. In the 2019 calendar. Come along; it's absolutely free to attend. You won't be asked to pay anything, and you can get to watch literally the future BSB, MotoGP, maybe even World Superbike stars of the future. We might even have We might even have people like Brad Ray. Now, I don't know if he's going to be there. He sometimes is. I was told he might turn up at a couple of Cool Fab rounds this year. So if he's there, you could bring the whole family if you like, and have a chat to. And it's a rare occasion because it is a nice relaxed atmosphere to, if there are some VIPs turning up, to have a chat with them really, and they're in a different. They're in a different, much more relaxed mind frame, away from being competitive, that sort of thing. So that's well encouraged. Every round, as I say, is totally free to attend, and it is a great weekend of action. And you'll hear Liam Hodgins again on commentary, again trying to pronounce. See, I messed that. I was going to be clever.
Messed that one up.
Yeah. That basically, I think you know where I was going with that. So Cool Fab Racing is officially bigger and better than ever before, and you can take that to the bank. So there you go, and that's it. I think for the marathon Superbike show, minus Ed, we kind of surprised that we even managed to fill 2.5 hours. Yeah,
there was a lot to talk about. How did we find all that to talk about?
Don't know. Definitely wasn't me. So,
we must have just waffled on for far too long about certain subjects.
Yeah, which we never do. So if you have managed to survive this far in the show, well done. You've done really well.
Yeah, better than what I've nearly managed.
So yeah, thank you very much for tuning in anyway. So that is it. That is the end of the show. Thank you very much for listening or whatever you've been doing. And we will be back again, I think, next week. We'll have a show on Monday before then. And it is Monday Motorsport. And we'll be looking back at everything that happened over the weekend on various wheels, probably 4. It's the return of the British Touring Car Championship and some of the support classes as well. What else is on the weekend? Is Formula 1 on? I don't think it is. I don't even know, to be honest.
I don't watch 4 Wheels.
He says. He does. Yeah, he does. Lots of stuff on Motorsport Radio, and also check out the website motorsport.radio for some brilliant opinion articles as well. So it's a bit different, and that's what we like. We like things a bit different, so check it out. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll do it all again this time next week on the Superbike Show.